It's true that all the men you knew were dealers who said they were through with dealing every time you gave them shelter. I know that kind of man. It's hard to hold the hand of anyone who's reaching for the sky just to surrender. Who is reaching for the sky just to surrender. And then sweeping up the jokers that he left behind, you find he did not leave you very much, not even laughter. Like any dealer, he was watching for the card that is so high and wild, he'll never need to deal another. He was just some Joseph looking for a manger.
Hello, welcome back to Flow Through Film. It is one of your hosts, Luke, and today, for episode 64, we are starting a series of my choosing, which is the American filmmaker Robert Altman. I'm very excited, and the first two films we're going to be doing are his 1971 film McCabe and Mrs. Miller and his 1973 film The Long Goodbye. And so before we get into it, I'm going to introduce my co-hosts, Danny.
Hello.
And Blake.
What's up?
And so before we actually straight up just go dive into the movies, I wanted to ask you guys kind of first off, Altman in particular, what movies have you seen from him? Like how many? And what are your observations on him as a filmmaker, in general? So, Blake, I guess.
So I've only seen 3 Altman movies, and I think they're all... Is Images 70s?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're all 70s movies, because I've only seen these 2 and then Images.
Okay.
And I need to watch more. I said I was going to watch more after I watched McCabe and Mrs. Miller, because I fucking loved it, and I just never got around to it. But yes, I love McCabe and Mrs. Miller and The Long Goodbye. We'll get into those movies later. But I really like Robert Altman as a director, though. He's way more interesting than I feel like maybe some people look at Robert Altman and think just like a studio director, basically. But he's way more interesting than that. So.
It's kind of what I find interesting is what he takes to the studio, kind of the more studio filmmaking.
And he got fired by basically every studio he worked for, too.
Oh, yeah, he did not like studio directing. He was not someone you really like. He didn't get along with them, really, at all.
Yeah. But yeah, he's way more interesting than I think people give him credit for most of the time. So.
I agree. Danny?
So Altman, he's always been... I've only started watching him this year. He's always kind of been one of the classic directors I hadn't watched. So I'm almost, looking forward to the series to see what I get out of him. But from the ones I've seen, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, the one we're about to talk about, is probably my favorite. I don't know. I haven't seen enough to have, a strong opinion on him.
Okay.
So you'll have to ask me at the end. Okay. But from just looking at his filmography and stuff, I can tell, he has a very... wide-ranging director, what I really like.
Yes.
It looks like he tries something new in every one of his movies.
Yes.
And you can tell he definitely has a distinct style.
Yeah.
I've seen people say the Altman touch or
Altman-esque.
Altman-esque, yeah.
That's what I was going to talk about. What have drawn me to him a lot. But
I think one of the things though that I can tell that is Altman-esque is his use of the soundtrack.
Definitely, that's definitely one of the main ones.
That's definitely you can tell he loves that in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
Or at least the 3 I've seen, but
yeah,
he loves the zoom lens too.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up because what I love about Altman, you kind of said it there. He takes these different aspects of his style, and he can do anything with go to any type of movie. He doesn't really have a weakness in any genre. He's so versatile with this unique style of the zoom lens, the sound, his sound tracking, his the way he often with his zoom lens, his approach to the story is often a very objective one. We talked about with Ozu, his camera kind of operates in a very similar way. But yeah, Altman's someone I've discovered. Really, I think the first movie of his I watched was The Long Goodbye, and that was late last year, December. And basically, he's also kind of someone I've really discovered this year. And he's a director where I was I didn't expect to love him as much as I did. It's just each movie of his that I watch more, it's oh, okay, this guy has a endless amount of really interesting stuff.
Because you've seen 18 of his, right?
14.
14.
Yeah, 14. So, yeah, love Altman. I think we should go and get into it. So, with these two movies, these are probably my two favorite Altmans, but also two of my favorite movies of all time. And I didn't really think before I rewatched them this time that they were that similar, really that similar at all. But rewatching this time, they actually do have some more similarities. Specifically, both are very pretty much quite protagonist oriented. Like they both have this one lone protagonist basically that they focus on most of the time. And we were talking about before, Danny, that basically both of them in a way their approach to the story happening is kind of similar in how they don't really know what's happening, but then they sort of act like they do, but they sort of still do have some awareness of what's going on. But yeah, and also both these movies, Altman he's kind of deconstructing both of the genres these are in. McCabe and Mrs. Miller for the Western, which is the more obvious one, but The Long Goodbye is one I realized this time. He is very much subverting the expectation of the private detective genre.
Yes,
which is super interesting. It gave the whole movie a whole new element for me, honestly.
Because well, I guess we'll talk about that specifically later. But I think that's because when you said he was you were talking about him basically mastering every genre he came into, or he could make every time he made a movie or like that.
Yeah.
Because I always talk about Kubrick like that, but I think Altman is more Kubrick is almost he does use a genre, but it's almost he's making his own kind of movie, just maybe with certain genre aspects of it.
Yeah.
But it does seem like Altman is just more aware of the genre itself.
Yeah, that's a good.
At least these two, okay? Because that's all I can speak on. But it does feel, especially with McCabe and Mrs. Miller, it does feel like he's very aware of audience expectations of what a Western's supposed to be. You know, how characters are supposed to look, what you expect when you see those kind of characters.
Yeah, because you can enjoy these at a surface level.
Yes.
This is a great private detective movie, even though it might not have all the tropes of the usual one. But
and especially with Long Goodbye, it's all of it's set up so well.
Yes.
To where even at the very end, you're that's, I guess, okay, we'll talk about it there. Yeah. I don't like the very, very end as much, but in terms of how he escapes and stuff, where it's basically just the money saves him and it just shows up that, the wife just puts it there for him, or else he would basically die or something.
Yeah.
The way that happens is just up until the very end, you're thinking he's going to get out of it. Because he's still playing the kind of cool detective the whole time.
Yes.
Even when he's basically losing control in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about, and the reason I was saying that, because I also feel about the same way about Warren Beatty and McCabe and Mrs. Miller too.
Yeah. Okay.
It's they still get their moment per se, but it's it doesn't feel like a Western moment or a PI, a private detective moment.
Yeah.
It typically would in a genre.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
it's
kind of like both. That's why I'm Kubrick is it's almost his own thing. It's just a Kubrick movie. But this one, it's it does still feel like a Western. It feels enough like a Western where you can call it a Western.
Yeah.
And yet it's still completely not a Western.
Yeah, it's an antique. Altman himself called it anti-Western.
Yes.
In general, but you have to bring up specific examples of that when we go through them. But
there's definitely. The entire ending is a specific example, but
and more I was saying is rewatching it. Knowing how the movie ends, it reframes how I viewed all the characters. Where the first time it feels like more just classical Western. Now and then rewatching it is almost you can tell he's making fun of it a lot.
Yeah, honestly.
But without judging almost. It's he's just it's almost he's showing how funny it is when you know the end.
Well, yeah, that's part of his his objective camera. It's voyeuristic.
Exactly.
He's not turning a certain viewpoint of his onto the characters. He's very much letting it speak for itself.
Yes.
With his camera.
Dude, The Long Goodbye especially is voyeuristic because his camera's always moving and it's always making you feel like you're looking at it.
Yeah, he specifically wanted the camera to always be moving in that movie. But I guess we can go ahead and get into McCabe and Mrs. Miller. I guess we can go ahead and just say overall thoughts on the movie. You kind of both of you kind of already sort of gave your overall thoughts, but just more focusing on McCabe and Mrs. Miller. What are your thoughts, Blake?
No, this is my favorite. I've seen 3. This is my favorite Altman, but it's also one of my favorite Westerns of all time.
Okay.
It's an amazing movie. Just the fact that we've been talking about the deconstruction, him deconstructing McCabe, basically this first part of the podcast, but the way he does it is just is beautiful, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And the ending, as we'll talk about, is also beautiful because there's just a lot of cool things that go into it, that go into that ending that we'll get to. But I also just love how he uses his actors, honestly. Like, he just lets them act, basically, and he doesn't, like, that's one of my favorite parts
he
about
uses a lot of improv.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with Elliot Gould. Because Elliot Gould is, like, the master of improv. He's...
Yeah, that whole, It's Okay With Me was all him, so... It was all really
and
cool.
the whole interrogation scene was improvised.
Yeah, I read that, too. Or I watched that,
Yeah. Yanni, what are your overall thoughts?
Overall thought, I mean, I kind of mentioned earlier, just how it feels like a Western, but also very anti-Western.
Yes.
I think the reason for that is it feels like it's a Western that knows the end result of kind of capitalism or just,
the myth of the free market.
The myth of the free market is, small business everywhere will win kind of thing. Yeah. But really, it's just like this big, this is very relatable, even 2023, is the bigger business will come out and either... try to buy it from you, or it'll find other ways to get it from you.
Oh,
you know, and this one is just more direct in terms of it's just direct killing. But.
Honestly, and I do want to say, like, before we actually get, I love how real this movie feels because, like, I mean, they actually went up to Canada and actually made this town. They were building it during production. It's great. It's honestly insane.
They had to shoot the whole thing basically in sequence because of that.
They did until the ending, which we'll get to, but yeah.
But yeah, so I guess my overall thoughts on McCabe and Mrs. were obviously, like, one of my favorite movies of all time, and everything you guys said is correct. Like, I love, like, the anti-Western genres of it, especially, like, not only what you were saying with, like, McCabe and, like, the capitalism in general, but also just the bad guys and, like, the fighting.
Yeah.
Because these bad guys, like, in typical Westerns, you always have, like, that, like, samurai-esque respect to honor or whatever to the battles. Like, there's always a standoff, everyone has to play fair. In this movie, the bad guys do not play fair. They all shoot you in your back, like, be extremely unfair. Like, it truly makes them feel like actual bad guys. It's crazy. And he's really just, like, he's stripping, like, the romanticization out of the Western genre in this movie. Like, it's all grimy, cold, realistic, like you said. But, like, throughout all of that, it's such a cozy movie, though, in general. Like, the atmosphere, in a way. Like,
well, the haziness is, like, I know Blake mentioned this before we started, but what they did is, like, they flashed the film before they shot.
Yes.
They used it, which makes the film already, like, you're not supposed to do that because it makes it look like this.
Yes.
It makes it look really hazy and just out of focus, kind of. And the whole movie has that feel to it until the ending, until the snow scenes that are almost like shot the clearest, in the most daylight.
Which, in a way, because that's when McCabe feels the most danger. It's like when he's most aware, in a way.
But it's still, like, to me, it's almost like that's the most classic Western moment, too.
Well, to me, that's the death of the Western.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, in terms of just the way it's filmed and stuff, like, it's still a Western.
It's like, I don't know if any Western has filmed a battle, like, just like that. Like, the way it's, like, in the air, like...
no Western has it in snow.
True, that too. Yeah, I need to watch more.
Or not a lot of them. I mean, there are some. But.
Yeah.
No, because the way it's shot is just amazing. Because I love the little blurriness and a little fuzziness, out of focus shots and stuff. So.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get screenshots because like they were all like every time I would pause, it'd be like a little part of it be like kind of like blurry or whatever, and I'd be like, ugh. But anyway, so yeah, let's go and get right into it. So first of all, we have kind of the opening of the movie, which I love a lot because you kind of just see McCabe arriving at the.
With the song too.
Yes, I was about to say Leonard Cohen songs fit.
It'll
so
play
well.
at the beginning of the podcast.
Oh yeah. They fit so well here. Just like how like.
Well, this one is specific too. It's like it's a very specific part of the movie because he'll use certain lyrics from the songs at certain aspects of the movie.
Because the first one's called the Stranger song, and when him showing up, he's the stranger in this part of the movie to everyone. And so he arrives at like the town, and we get like this like opening of just like him slowly kind of getting into town, but like it's all like grimy and cold, and there's a cool story about it involving Kubrick, because the scene where like he's about to cross the shot, he's about to cross the bridge, and then he lights a cigarette. And you can like the cigarette's like the only like warm color you can see. It's like it stands out, that little flame.
Yes.
Kubrick saw the movie when it opened.
Was that on the bridge?
Yes, it was across the bridge.
I love that shot. Oh my gosh.
And Kubrick called Altman and told him, how did he get that shot? And like when Altman told him, Kubrick was like, "How'd you know you got it?" And Altman's like, "I don't know. I just kind of trust I got it. You know." Like,
Dude, that goes with, like, that clip I sent you where he was like, where it was like saying he doesn't shoot that many scenes because he just like, or maybe I didn't send you guys this clip, but he was talking about in that documentary, or not in the documentary, but just like an interview with him, where he was just like, he says that he doesn't shoot that many scenes because he's just watching like he's actually watching as like a fan, basically.
Yes.
And like once he has it, and once he like as he's watching it, he gets that feeling inside. I'm like, yeah, this is good. Like that's whenever he stops.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
like it's just instinct.
And which is actually funny because Warren Beatty is sort of the opposite.
Yeah.
He needed more takes to warm up, so that kind of had a very like conflict with Altman. In fact, there's a story. Hold on, I didn't put this down in my notes, sadly. I forgot to. About
is it the bathtub scene?
I don't know if I don't know if it's specifically what scene it is.
Because in the doc, because this is because on the McCabe and Mrs. Miller Criterion Blu-ray, they include a documentary that's actually an hour long, and in that, one of the people said that Altman, or whenever they were shooting the bath scene where he's in the bath getting drunk as hell before he goes to visit Mrs. Miller, Altman only was there for the first like 10 takes.
Okay,
they told his like assistant. Yeah, he was
so Beatty like insisted on more takes. Yeah, and then Altman's like, okay, sure, but I'm gonna go to bed, and left his assistant to shoot him. But apparently, what I read is that they did over 30 takes of the scene there. And basically, apparently, Altman got his revenge by ordering Beatty to do 25 takes of a scene involving Beatty in the snow.
Oh, damn.
Oh, my God.
And yeah, it apparently was... there's apparently a rip between the two, obviously.
Oh, my goodness.
That's
fucking hilarious.
Which is, it's funny. But
no, yeah. The assistant director said that they sat in that room for another hour after Altman went to bed, so...
Oh, my gosh.
Filming that take.
It's a good shot.
Honestly,
it's a great shot. But I mean, she said she was like, I don't know if any of those ever got in, and knowing Bob, they probably didn't. So
no, they did
because he got what he got.
It's not that much.
He already knew what he got.
That's the one where he's just like he kind of looks like a Jesus.
Yeah.
In the bathtub.
But yeah, then we get McCabe walking into the bar, and this is the scene that kind of sets up McCabe as like a legend, like a very storied like gunfighter, because he's coming in. He's like the typical, wisecracking like Western character. Which this time I also noticed how lonely he is as well. Like, it's super interesting. Like he Altman would often like frame him and like kind of alone in the frame a lot too. It's something that I thought about because in a way he didn't really connect with anybody in this movie. Like he's on his lonesome. He only wants to be alone in this movie. Like he doesn't want any partners or anything. But that's kind of just adds to the legend of him because he's like
until Mrs. Miller. But yeah,
until Mrs. Miller. Which is funny because we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But the scene he goes into the bar and he basically starts the card game at the bar. And then basically this is how everyone finds out. This is the guy who shot Bill Roundtree. He's Pudgy McCabe or whatever, which is funny.
Well, it's funny. It's kind of just it's showing like how legends spread.
Yeah,
almost like more realistic version. Like as we come to learn, that he probably didn't shoot that guy.
Yeah,
Oh
my gosh.
But like it doesn't matter as long as he put on a good show for everyone. He's clearly like the most sophisticated guy there.
Yeah. And he's like he starts off this like sort of similar to how like Elliot Gould's character in Long Goodbye what's Marlowe in Long Goodbye is kind of he feels like every line of dialogue is exactly what he like the cool Western gunfighter is gonna say when he's going out to take a piss and like the guy comes out there is like, what you do? And he's like
where are you going?
He's like I'm just gonna go to that fence over there take a pee. And then like it's throughout this whole movie until we get to the deconstruct thing, like when those scenes where he's stripped of this legend in a way. But yeah, like so, and then I think kind of next scene is when he starts to get the prostitutes from the town, which he's like, of course he's going up to this brothel guy and being like, he's like negotiating him like he's the man, like, and he does a good job of like negotiating it down to this guy from this brothel owner in this nearby town. But seeing with the prostitutes are a big part of this movie. And what I kind of appreciate about this movie that adds the realistic part of it is like in like when I think of like prostitutes in like other Western movies, I think of like Once Upon a Time in the West, where the prostitute movie's Claudia Cardinal.
Yeah,
who's like one of the hottest women ever. Like,
Yeah.
and
Okay, I see
then
what you're saying,
this movie,
yeah.
I'm not saying like these women are ugly.
no,
Like,
that's
They're like-
that's I mean that adds to realism because they're
Yes.
fucking in Canada, dude. Like they're in
Yes.
the Northwest. Like that's a specific take on the Western genre. Like that's something Altman wanted to do. He's
Yeah.
like that's one reason why it's snowy and everything and always rainy. Is like he wanted to set something where it wasn't in the desert because that's always where you seem to see westerns is like in a
Yes.
desert or like in like the journey west is always to California. Whenever we did journey to Seattle and stuff
Yes.
too, and we
Yes.
tried to go to Canada.
Yeah.
And so that's what this movie is. He wanted to like make it like that.
Yeah.
And if you're going that far and into that cold of an environment, most hot women, they're not going to be like the prostitutes
Yeah,
aren't going to be super.
they're not gonna be
It's gonna
Claudia
people,
Cardinal.
yeah. It's going to be people that are willing to go up there, like
yeah,
Or forced to.
or forced to, yeah. But
yeah, and it's
they're not going to be the most attractive women. So.
and the scenes involving them are very often not pretty as well, which we'll get to. It's quite like it's definitely more realistic than you usually get. But yeah,
There's some great like it's kind of fun, like it's almost ironic because we get like the really good sunset shots and then riding on the
Yes.
horses. Like it feels like a western if you didn't know the characters and stuff.
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
you only
yeah.
saw the wide shots.
yeah,
And then they cuts close, but it's like, of course, he's bringing prostitutes to a
Yeah.
town,
yeah.
And then, like, just once again, knowing what's gonna happen, it just makes it almost undercuts everything.
Well, that's already
else.
it's already starting the deconstruction of the western
Yes.
because like your western hero is
bringing-
a pimp. Like,
Yes, exactly. And he has no idea what he's kind of.
And-
Yeah, he
that's
basically
what I'm
has no
saying.
idea what
As we
he's
learn at the
doing,
end,
yeah.
he really doesn't know what he's doing.
oh yeah, no, he definitely does.
And the fact that like basically the only way these people spend their time are drinking, going to the whorehouse, or smoking opium. Like what an awful like kind of depressing way to live, honestly. Like
Yeah.
especially at this time. But yeah, we get the shot of them arriving, which is a very beautiful weather shot in a movie that's otherwise not involving that, like good weather conditions, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like we get like McCabe like talking to like the builders, like you'll have these tents up, and they're like no, like the main like the builder guy with the glasses, he's so funny, like because his whole character is basically just making excuses why stuff isn't getting done, or like or they like may mess up or something, like but yeah, like he's like they're like talking, and then this prostitute and this guy getting like this like fight, like this brawl or whatever, and it's like McCabe has
She's
to go
stabbing him. I'm pretty sure.
That's
it's
it's a
That's
little
later.
Oh yeah,
later.
this is the first one. Yeah,
The first one, it's like just like the other prostitutes are like trying to separate them, and so he has to set like McCabe's like has to like bring the prostitute to like some like room or whatever. But I love this quote by McCabe that happens in this scene. He says, "You boys got to make up your mind if you want to get your cookies, because if you want to get your cookies, I got some girls up here. I got some girls up here that can do more tricks than a goddamn monkey on 100 yards of grapevine." Man, a lot of great lines from
No,
that.
there's
A lot of great
especially
lines,
from
yeah.
him too.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do think that Altman let him just like wheel it basically
I
on
can
some
see
of these
that.
things. Yeah, because like there's that one later on where he's like, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't.
Oh,
He said
wouldn't-
twice. It was twice.
Yeah, yeah.
That one's
like
really
all
good
him.
because the first time he says it, it's like kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, but then the second time he says it, he's almost like panicking. You know,
Yeah,
and it's
right.
like and like the guys he's saying to don't really care what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like because the first guy is like the one who's like wants to
Yeah.
suck up to him or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And then when he's done with the guy, he's like, what?
They're like,
But
It's like, what are you saying?
yeah, we there's also this scene with the prostitutes in the room where like one's like licking the blood, like the one has like a bloody knee, and like the other one's like licking it off of it. It's like
But I think that's important because it's shown right after he says that to the guys.
oh, is it okay?
Yeah, it's like he's walking into the room and that's when he cuts inside his room.
yeah,
Almost
yeah.
to show like this is what he's selling. You know, like
Yeah,
because he
yeah,
just
yeah.
said like I have what did he say, the monkey line or something?
Yeah, he has I got some girls like here that can do more tricks than
Exactly,
the goddamn
yeah.
monkey.
And then like he cuts to those women basically.
yeah, honestly, yeah, that's a good point.
But basically, this is kind of like the whole West. Like this is the myth making of the West, right?
Yes.
You're selling something, you
Yeah.
know, like you're it's almost like a big ideal, and then this is the reality. You know, he's
Yes.
trying to show both. Like,
yeah,
and I think like McCabe is kind of like he's like that ideal that we still want him to be the hero amongst, we still want him to succeed, like we're kind of wanting him to be like, to still set up the successful town, even though like the whole time we watched him, like he has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
But we're still cheering for him though.
Yeah.
And that's the whole Western.
It's
like,
Warren Beatty, man.
No. And there's like the Western, like there's a reason why we cheer for the Western ideal as well. It's like, but I think he does a good job of showing both sides.
Yeah, honestly, good point. But yeah, I love this next scene too because this is when the owner of the bar comes to ask McCabe to form a partnership with him, which is hilarious because we see like the very next few scenes that when Mrs. Miller comes along, he has to go back on that basically because she's like such a strong character in a way. But this is when we get the line of if frogs had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass so much. You follow me?
You follow me?
That's
Oh
funny.
my gosh.
That was all Warren.
Yeah, but then this is when this gets interrupted by a prostitute starting to stab a guy, which is brutal. Oh my gosh. But yeah, this is when then we get the train arriving with Mrs. Miller, which her character I also really like because like she is like she's obviously a very strong woman, and then like Warren Beatty like is not used to that, and it's funny just watching him kind of like come to terms with it. Like
he's not used to it, but he's also extremely attracted by it.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
And then we get the questions: is the romance really even that real in a way? Because like, we'll get to it though.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that.
But we also get Shelley Duvall's character arriving, which is actually, you said Kubrick earlier. Just a little thing to point out: both these movies have an actor that starred in a Kubrick or were prominent actors in a Kubrick movie. Shelley Duvall in this movie, and then the guy who played Roger Wade in Long Goodbye is in Doctor Strangelove. Sterling Hayden.
Oh yeah, okay, yes.
Just
is he the general or something? Who is he?
He's in Doctor Strangelove.
No. Well, who is he in Doctor Strangelove?
He's the main general.
The main general.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Oh, dude, he's so good in Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah,
I remember.
He's getting Long Goodbye.
He's really good in Long Goodbye.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but Mrs. Miller like immediately approaches McCabe, and she's like she dominates the conversation with McCabe. It's hilarious to watch because like
basically showing how he doesn't know anything about taking.
Well, I do think the Shelley Duvall character is also just a little bit more interesting, just because she is a mail order bride, and that does come into play later whenever like obviously her husband dies in the fight. Like that's whenever things stop being fun, basically. But yeah, like she's basically like it's just showing the same thing of like this is like a woman had to be like a prostitute.
Yeah, they're basically the same thing.
They're basically the same thing in this part of the movie, basically.
Yeah.
In this expanding West.
But yeah, Miss Miller and McCabe go to the restaurant, and like, oh man, it's so funny. Like watching like McCabe like oh get those guys some drinks, like trying to impress Mrs. Miller, and like he's like dusting off his hat, like trying to look cool or whatever. Oh man, basically, like we see, like I find this scene really interesting because we see just like Mrs. Miller just eating the whole time when she gets her food. No one's saying anything. Like McCabe's just like looking at her, like what the hell? Like this woman eating a lot. Like
that's where I was like, this man's attractive as hell because he's watching her eating and he's just like. I feel like he's in awe, like honestly, like that's kind of how he looks because he's just having whiskey and eggs, like.
But then, like, as soon as she's done eating, she just like grills him on this like deal, basically, and he's like, oh, I know about how to
be a pimp,
run a brothel, and then she like basically
ask
like
him all those questions. And
stuff. And just basically just breaks him down, like okay, never mind. I guess I have to give in to this partnership, which happens, but yeah, then we get basically he gives him the deal, and he's like. And then, like, we kind of get, like, a scene, too, of, like, him, like, going up to her house at night. And it's like, Mrs. Miller, I feel like, as the buyer of these things, I should know when those prostitutes are arriving. And she's, like, not even paying attention to him. Like, the door's locked and everything.
No, it's funny because, like, I think she doesn't... I don't know if she tells him he has to take a bath or, like, basically her thing is, like, all the men have to take baths before they can come to the brothel. Basically. Or I'll just call it a brothel.
Yeah.
And so, but then I think he takes a bath too, because it's funny. There's a few scenes in the movie where he's like just talking to himself when he's by himself.
Yeah.
And this one time, and in this first scene, he's like, "I'm not taking no goddamn bath" to himself.
Goddamn.
And then he comes outside and he talks to the basically that glasses guy and all the people he's
Yeah.
paying. He says he's paying them extra so they can build the bathhouse.
Yeah,
They can
okay,
build the
yeah.
bathhouse. He's paying them like 25 cents or something now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. After they work in the mines, I think.
Yeah, and he's paying them to build that bathhouse a night.
Yeah.
And he says something about like Mary Five Fingers.
Oh yeah. Go and play with Mary Five.
And then they leave, and then he leaves, and that glasses guy tells like the rest of them the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, shut up."
Yeah.
He says the same thing, but he says it like badly
Yeah.
too, because he's like Five-Fingered Mary or something.
Oh yes. Oh my god. Yeah. He's honestly just one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
He's so funny. But yeah, then we get like the prostitutes arriving, which is like this super like rainy, like it's so impressive how like I don't know, disgusting, like rainy it is when they're arriving. Like it doesn't feel fake at all. Like it's
not. Yeah, it's real.
It's because I think
they all shot on location.
Did they use rain? I thought I read something they might have used some rain.
I don't know.
It rained a lot where they shot.
No,
it?
yeah,
I think they shot in
a lot.
Vancouver. Right?
No, they shot in Canada. So
Yeah.
they don't really have to do anything. They just have to wait a day and it'll rain. Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks super real if it wasn't for some reason. But yeah, we see like the prostitutes take a bath, and it's not the most like, again, this is showing how like in the scenes where the prostitute's taking a bath, this isn't the most like glorifying thing, like in like a regular Western to be like extremely more like
I don't know. I think in this one it actually is more glamorous than you're giving it credit for. Just because I think that's what he's trying to do with these prostitutes, because these are the like good prostitutes basically.
Okay.
Like they're the attractive ones. Like they're the ones that are like coming in from well established like brothels basically.
Okay.
Like they're coming up here to get paid, but
the
way they're shooting it though is like I feel like it's like these jewels basically coming into Canada.
Maybe.
And I do think that they said that in the documentary too. Like that's kind of what Altman wanted. Like he wanted the brothel to be like the jewel of like the town.
Oh yeah.
Like that's where everyone goes. That's why they all have to be clean and everything. Like everyone has to be clean. And then you go to the church later on where that's always what we're told. And that's always like how the West was. Like that's how we like spread the West is like the church was like the central part of the town. Okay. But like whenever you go to the church in this one, it's like not even fully built.
There's like storage stuff in it, like
and in that documentary they did say, or not the documentary, an interview with Vilgo something, his cinematographer. He said that whenever they shot close-ups, especially of the women, and anytime they shot like the women, they always put a woman's stocking over the camera to like give it that like. That like more I'm gonna say glamorous because it kind of feels like that, especially like Julie Christie's close-ups feel like warmer and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know about that. That's interesting.
I can see that.
No, yeah, but that's why I disagree with like the griminess of at least these prostitutes, because I think these are the ones that he's wanting to like make.
It's also I guess it is
basically.
also like it well counteracts how like rainy it was outside. Like all of a sudden you're brought into this like very warm, very like steamy like place in a way.
Yeah, and I think does she cut it with them taking a bath together, like whenever they're like all slapping each other's asses and getting in the same bath, with her saying like what happens whenever a girl falls for another girl?
Yeah,
I feel like that's
no.
I feel like
that's for another girl at the beginning.
I know it was at the beginning too, but I feel like they were saying something about that, and then they like played that little thing also. But I don't know. But whatever.
I don't think. By the way, but
regardless, that had been put in our heads, and then we saw them all taking it back together.
Yeah. But yeah, I also love, and then we get the scene where. So like McCabe is like he goes into the brothel to the worker with the glass. I don't know his name. The worker with the glasses. That's what I'm gonna call him. And he's like asking him like apparently he messed up something on the order books or something. And like while this guy's explaining to him, we see in the background this guy buying McCabe for
Mrs. Miller.
Miss Miller for
$5.
Yeah.
It's $5 for a night with her.
I don't know. Should I just say have sex with?
I was like $5 for a night with her. So
for a night with her.
No, and that's important because in that bathhouse scene before, they're like it's just like this. It's one of those crowded dialogue scenes where you just hear like random talking from the guys in there, and one of them says because they're talking about Chinese women. And how like they're like, basically like, it's another myth making they're doing. It's like how Chinese women can do all these
that's actually that's an interesting point about the movie in general, because the first time I watched it I didn't recognize just how much Chinese like how much Chinese racism was going on in this movie. But that's how it's the Northwest too though. That's interesting.
But it's more just like the Chinese were a big part of building the railroads in the West.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of like that's how they were treated too at the same time.
Yeah.
But but they're talking about what Chinese girls can do and everything. And one of them says something like, they're talking about their friend he's talking about a friend he knows named Amos Linville who spent $5 to be with a Chinese woman. Okay. And he says a guy like Amos doesn't spend $5 unless he knows what he's getting, kind of thing. Okay. But I think that's what a lot of this movie is. It's like a lot of people have to believe in this dream because that's what they're spending their money on, or that's what they're doing. Okay. It's like what else can they believe in? And it's almost like that is an example of that. It's like like every person that probably sleeps with Mrs. Miller, they're going to say the $5 is worth it. Yeah. Right. And because the dream has to be true. It's like you spend $5 on it. You don't. It's like almost like a sunk cost if it's bad. So you don't want to say it's bad no matter what. But even like we're watching from more objective, and we're all saying none of this is that good. Yeah. And that's why I think Luke is kind of right. Where like even the glory bathhouse scenes are still kind of grimy. Yeah. In terms of like I don't want to be there too. Even when the fancy girls come, it's like is that even that great either? Like in terms of like the whole town is like. We kind of see it already as like a myth defeated almost, It's like, even if the characters in the movie don't see it that way.
That's a good point. Yeah, no. and I also want to talk about the scene specifically because
this scene is amazing.
Because the way he used the dialogue, like the dialogue tracks in the scene are amazing. Because so you visually hear the conversation, but then it basically gets drowned out by the guy ordering Mrs. Miller. And like it basically mimics what McCabe is at right now because he's getting distracted by it.
It's not even really drowning out. I feel like it's just more so they're all played the same. Like I feel like they're played like the same like sound, like the same volume level. It's just we're drawn to what's happening and the camera's following what's happening somewhere else. Because like the next time I watch it, I actually want to listen to what the guy in the glasses is saying to to McCabe because like he's actually saying he's talking the entire time to Warren Beatty. And we just don't pay attention because we're paying attention to the other conversations that's happening at the back of the place. Yeah. But that's something he did during this entire movie. Is like I think that's something he said in one of his interviews. Like he hated how movies shot on the street never captured like what we hear on the street of like you would all like if you passing some people talking, you're gonna hear their conversation just like you're not trying to eavesdrop, you're just gonna hear it just because they're talking. But like you're getting that snippet of their life as they're going on, and then you just like walk away and like you don't know like that story doesn't continue. Yeah. But that happens all the time in this movie. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure in The Long Goodbye too. Yeah. But I do love this scene specifically because of that. But I do love how it opens too with him just walking in and like I think Mrs. Miller said, "Did you have a bath?" And he's like, "I'm not here as a customer, man. I'm here on business."
And like this also sets up kind of the seeds of like the romance between the two. Like he's obviously jealous.
Yes.
Of her going spending time with a man, but and then I think next scene we get is McCabe in his bar like alone. Basically him and Mrs. Miller are there, and he's like frustrated that the bathhouse and the whorehouse are so much more successful than his bar. He's like, I haven't sold like a whole bottle of whiskey since I arrived or whatever. And Mrs. Miller's she's like obviously like kind of fed up with him. She gives him the money like technically just like to calm him down or whatever. But then she's like saying like but like if you like extol more windows in the whorehouse, we can make more money. Which kind of it kind of adds to that like the whorehouse is the jewel of the town in a way I think.
Yeah, well, it's definitely it adds to that because she's saying like, why do you think they haven't bought any whiskey? Is because they're spending all their money in your bathhouse and your brothels, having sex with your women, and then she pulls out the money and gives it to him. But she's also like looking through his books at the same time. This is whenever she's starting to realize that he's dumb. Like he's also dumb. Obviously, like she might have had a little bit more respect for him at the beginning, but. I feel like she never has that much respect for McCabe because she knows kind of who she's dealing. Like I think she has.
Romantic by the end?
No.
Oh, it definitely is.
It might be one.
She's like crying at the very end when he dies.
I don't think.
And
I don't think it's romantic at all. I don't think it's romantic at all.
It's I think they like each other for sure. Like during their sex scene, she like there's one
she
where
got
she's
high
like,
before it.
That's true.
And she made him pay for it.
No, she always made him pay for it.
No, that's why it's not purely romantic. It's like they like each other, but there's almost like this business that has to be between them kind of thing. But I still think they like each other.
Yeah, okay.
I like, think she has a soft spot for him, for sure.
And she definitely acts different with him than what she does with like the other guys and stuff.
But she's also high.
No, that's definitely true, yeah. But I think both those things, you can still feel something true about romantic versus something high.
It's to be high. I mean, obviously.
Come on, be an expert.
I'm not smoking opium or whatever she's. I think it's.
They are
opium,
depressing scenes though, like when she is smoking it most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like maybe in a different movie, like it's obviously trying to be like in a different movie they would be romantic leads.
Yeah,
but they can't be in this one because it's more like I've been saying the whole time, like it's more like this is what the myth is already destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like and that's just part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But then we get the scene. He walks. He's walking like in the snow in this next scene, and this is another line he kind of mutters to himself, which I love. It's money and pain. Pain.
The second time he said it.
What is it? Oh, did you say it?
He says it earlier the first time he meets Mrs. Like when she's inside smoking and he stays outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right after he walks away from her, he says the same thing. He
'Cause
says
he's
you've cost me
said-
so much money.
Yeah, he
money
said
and
women.
pain."
He said women, money and pain.
Yeah, well, he says something like
Money,
he says so far you've cost me nothing but money
Yeah.
and pain.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. So great.
No, it is a great line, dude. Like I'll never forget that. It's a great line.
But yeah, and then I think you mentioned it earlier, Blake. The scene where Shelley Duvall's husband gets like beat up in like a bar fight and killed, basically.
Yeah.
And this is like I love how he like lights the scene because it's like you can barely like you can like sort of tell what's happening, but it's like so dark and grimy that it's like you almost like can't really like figure it out.
I honestly, have you seen The Far Country?
I don't.
It's I can't remember. It's one of Jimmy Stewart's westerns, but it's with look it up while I'm talking.
Okay.
But this I feel like McCabe and Mrs. Miller is almost a deconstruction almost of that movie because I hadn't seen The Far Country before I had seen McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah.
But like watching McCabe and Mrs. Miller again after watching that, I was watching it this time. I was like, he's basically like taking a lot of the things that happen in The Far Country and just like showing what it would actually be like in real life almost if with like these real people because like. Okay. This is a scene that would definitely happen if you have a brothel in the fucking city or in your town, and then like someone has an attractive wife. Obviously, there's going to be like these cat callers that are going to be like, oh yeah, you want to sleep with me because you're obviously a prostitute because you're in the like this is the type of town we're in like
yeah.
But this happens in a lot of towns in the West obviously because brothels were a huge part of forming the West. But
I love. I need to watch more snow westerns in general, like because I know like the one with Klaus Kinski was it
The Great Silence.
Great Silence.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either yet.
But yeah,
it's been on my watch list for a while. They left Criterion last month also.
Oh really?
Sucks, yeah. I think you can download that one
probably
easily, but
it's more convenient to watch on.
Yeah.
But anyway. So yeah, this is when we get the mining company people of Churchtown. This is capitalism coming in basically.
Yes.
Basically forcing you to make a deal with them in one way or another, monetary or not. But these scenes are great, honestly. I love these scenes because, like, obviously they're like he's obviously trying to play them, but like at the same time you sort of know something's about to go wrong. Like,
oh yeah.
Because like just the way that these people, the workers, kind of like approach the situation. I don't really know how to describe it, but like just the way they approach it, like something's up. Like. Something's gonna go wrong, basically.
Well, I think they had a conversation, even like the two guys that come in had a conversation before even talking to him. Yeah. Okay. Like about like if this doesn't happen, we're gonna call the other guy, basically. Okay. Like because like it's implied, I think even before they talked to him the first time that if they don't make a deal, something's gonna happen. Like they're gonna call the other guy in that they have to deal with stuff like this. Yeah. But I don't remember if that happens before or after.
Later. I think it's after.
I can't remember if it's before or after. Or they first.
I think she might tell him after he tells her about what they offered and stuff. Maybe
because they also the two guys also have a conversation about that. I know they definitely have a conversation later whenever they actually call him, like whenever the guy says call him. Yeah. But I know that someone warned McCabe about that too.
I don't know if she.
I know that there was a conversation about this. I just thought that I didn't remember having before or after
where like talked to them. Yeah, when Harrison Mine they either send it's something about like the people they send after. It's like they get their deal no matter what or something.
Yeah, they get their deal no matter what.
And that's kind of like. You can see that today with just big businesses too. Like they're gonna get their deal no matter what. Like to them, it's like through the courts or something. But they're just gonna. It's basically spending money a different way to get the same result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either it'll be direct. We're gonna pay you $62.50 and you're gonna take it, or we'll call him Bill the Butcher.
Oh man, Bill the Butcher.
Yeah.
But yeah, which
wait, what? No, Butler.
But his name's Butler.
Yeah,
Butler the
But I
Butcher.
thought you were joking when you said Butler Butcher.
No, that's how I just think of him. He's like
That's honestly.
He's like
7 feet tall. They said he's 7 feet tall.
Really?
Yeah, in the
Oh.
movie. So
like, is that what the actress actual height is?
I'm not sure actually.
There's no. Okay,
I don't
but-
think
Well,
so.
they just say he's. I mean,
Okay,
obviously back then he's probably just.
the way he's shot and
He
stuff.
could be like 6.
But see, that could be a myth too.
Yeah,
You know, it's
true,
like,
that's
oh, he's 7
true.
foot tall, but who's gonna check? Like,
Yeah.
none
Who's
of
gonna
them
check?
Yeah, they're not gonna be
none
like.
of them seen
They're
a
too
7
scared of him.
None of
Tape
them,
measure.
none of them seen a 7 footer. Like, probably none even a 6'6" was even rare back then.
Yeah, honestly. But yeah, which ties in the next scene because this is when McCabe kind of sneaks into Mrs. Miller's room, and this is when McCabe tells her about the mining people coming to buy her out, and she's like, basically like starts warning him about like how like they're gonna get you to agree one way or another, basically. But and then like the people like the business people come to the brothel to talk to Ms. McCabe, and so he comes out there, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll raise it like by like we can come up with like another $750 or whatever, and he still blows them off like and like asks them like to come like for breakfast tomorrow. Or whatever.
And this is what I'm saying, where you watch it the first time and you're like, okay, maybe he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You can still be like, okay, he's kind of cool. Like he's trying to get a good deal and he's playing it off.
Yeah.
But then rewatching it, knowing like he has no idea what he's doing,
Yeah.
and he's going, he's obviously going to fail, and like basically they're going to get what they want at the end.
Well, because
Yeah.
the funny thing
It's just
is,
like it makes him look way more dumb.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's not like it's changed anything. Just
Yeah.
based on what we know. of
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
situation.
The funny thing is, he's saying to everyone else, he's like, I know what I'm doing.
No, that's why
Yeah.
you can buy, like that confidence is what's gotten
Yeah.
him here.
Yeah.
But it's
But
like
whenever you
almost like a
rewatch
fake
it's fucking
confidence. It's
hilarious.
like
Yeah.
yes, but it's almost like confidence can get you can get you far. But it can also like
It can get you far until you know something. Like bullshitting can get you far until you run into another bullshitter.
yeah,
like
or
that's
just someone with more
honestly,
bullshitting power than you, basically.
Yeah. Like, you
or
can't
they'll just
bullshit-
kill you.
You can't
know?
bullshit a bullshitter. is
Yeah,
what
or
this-
just
is what
someone
this
that's
is.
like you don't have power over, basically.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, then this is when McCabe and Miss Laurel sleep together. We see them sleep together for the first time, and like she still makes them pay for it, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we get
Well, and she's high during this scene too.
Is
Like
she? Okay,
because
yeah.
we do see her like quickly hide everything and like lay the smoke away before she lets him in. So.
yeah.
But
Which plays
to me,
a part to it. I
to
think
me
that
it's
plays a
shot,
part,
Like
so.
it is shot differently. Like they are kind of. It's like
Because
the
she's
in love
hot.
moment.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
no, it's both.
That's why I
But
think it's
both,
shot
though.
different.
To me, it's both.
Because like whenever,
Like, 'cause-
especially like I'm just thinking of the shot of him like looking directly at her laying on the bed with like
Yes,
the covers
yes,
pulled up to her
that's
face.
exactly what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
She's high as shit, dude. Like that's the thing.
But
I don't know.
That's part of the reason
Yeah.
why I think like it's like a romantic scene, because this is the first time she's showing him high too. She's been hiding it the whole time. And that's the first time
Well,
where it's
she's
like,
still hiding it though.
Well,
like
she's-
he doesn't know because he said he has a
but
line
she's
later.
letting him see her high. Where the whole other
Yeah.
time she's locked the door away and be like, "You can't
Yeah.
see me."
Yeah.
And then,
No, that's true.
and then she's also knows that other people are gonna start implying that thing too, them together too, because
Yeah.
like the rumor does spread like right after that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
like-
People are like spying on them.
Yeah,
too,
yeah, and they're like, "Oh, they're two in the room together,"
Yeah.
like it's one of those things. So.
Yeah.
I think it's more. It's not just a black and white romance.
No,
but it's
no,
way
yeah,
more.
definitely.
I think it is more like it's like they do have this kind of. They clearly are more connected than the rest of everyone else,
Yeah.
but yet they still can see like you're saying, like she sees him as a dumbass a lot of times too.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also like McCabe also wants to be independent. He wants to make his own decisions about everything.
Yeah.
Like, she keeps trying to give him good advice, and he keeps rejecting it and be like, "No,
Yeah.
I'll do my own thing." Like
Yeah.
when the lawyer guy comes and tries to sell him his thing, like he starts taking his side for a little bit.
He's a big, strong man, but then he needs to be cuddled. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the thing at the end. Also, like I don't know. Yeah, it's a really good. But I do love the shot of him just hanging on the $5 in the box too.
Okay. Yeah.
Or does that happen later? I don't know if it happens.
It
Later,
happens
but
sometime.
it happened. Yeah. Great shot.
But yeah, we also this next scene it also plays into the anti-Western trope because we get the funeral, but then the cowboy shows up, which in typical Westerns the cowboy cowboy's like a cowboy he's like the hero, like he's sort of like McCabe in a way, like expert gunfighter, and so we see this guy show up and like McCabe's like sees him and is like suspicious, like, and he goes up to him and asks him like why you're here or whatever, and he's like, It turns out he's just coming for the whorehouse, basically. Like,
Yeah.
Oh man.
He heard about the whorehouse.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Which the actor actually, this guy, he has a pretty prominent role in Nashville, which we'll talk about next week.
I think Altman found him too, like because
Yeah,
he was
this is
only
for-
20.
this
He was
movie.
19 whenever they started filming this movie, so, which is crazy.
He's a musician, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
too, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, yeah, he really only came for the whorehouse, and he gets deconstructed even more in the bridge scene, which will happen later. But yeah, this is the scene where Mrs. Miller hires Shelley Duvall at the whorehouse after her husband died. Basically, like saying the connection of like how in the West, like basically a marriage, being a wife to a guy is basically being a prostitute.
It's just
like,
It's just paying room and board. You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's like you
had to do what you had to do.
And like she's like, and the difference is you don't have to say no to nobody, or like,
and you'll have money to spend for yourself.
Yeah. But then, basically, I think McCabe then gets informed about Butler that he's. I think we see. We see the.
It's a great like dancing scene of like it's just like the guy dancing on the frozen lake at night.
Okay, yeah.
And like they're playing the fiddle and everyone's having a good old time, and then you just see this giant guy riding on a horse.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
out of the cold, and then like his horse just turns around. They see the gun, and then that's whenever everything stops.
Yes, okay, man. And this guy is scary.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, like, I would not want to run into this guy. Hot take. But yeah, McCabe gets informed, and basically then McCabe goes to meet Butler. And this is one of the best scenes in the movie, honestly. It's so hilarious because there's so many things that happen that like just like shift the power dynamics to the Butler guy.
Oh yeah.
First of all, like McCabe goes in, offers him a cigar, and the Butler goes, "Oh, you have one of mine," you know, like, and then he's like, McCabe's like, "Oh, let's go step in my bar and have private conversation." Like, no, we're fine here. And then like the way he's like negotiating the money is like, you know, like he's talking about the deal. He's like, you know, well, the Butler's like asking him like, how much do you want right now? And he for it, and he's like, McCabe goes like 8,000. Well, actually 7,500 is more right. You know, shit, I'd be willing to make it 6,250. Like basically, like.
Yeah. Because he's like, what did you offer? What did you say to them? He's like, 12, 15.
He was like 12, 30, he was like 10, 12.
I was kidding, I was just bargaining.
Yeah, I was just bargaining.
Well, and he actually offered, but he wanted 14 to 15. Like, that's what he actually told them.
But then, like, after he's done all of this, then Butler feels like, oh, I don't make deals. I'm only here to hunt bear, basically.
And the funny thing is, the best part about that is, like, McCabe's wearing that giant fucking, like, fur coat.
Oh, man. That thing was comfy, by the way.
Oh, it does, But, like, hunting bear, like, that's obviously why he's applying. Like, he's there to hunt you.
Oh, okay, actually, damn. Oh, I didn't even think about that, actually. But then, like, McCabe, like, is like, okay, I'm gonna go now. And, like, when he's leaving, then they're like, they ask about, like, he's like, are you pudging McCabe? And, like, asks about the legend. And basically, he's like, did you shoot Bill Roundtree? And he's like, no. He was just, I was just there when he like pulled out his gun and like got shot or whatever.
He got caught cheating in poker.
Yeah, got caught cheating, and like, and then the Butler goes, my best friend's best friend was Bill Roundtree, and like starts getting like pressing him and stuff.
He's like, yo, my best friend a liar.
Oh man, then like Butler like, I better see you cross that bridge in the next 30 seconds or whatever, or else things are gonna go wrong. Basically, I don't know exactly what he said at the end there, but oh man, but like. It just shifts the power. It's stripping. It's really stripping the legend of it.
This is a important scene. It's like fully exposing him. So if you're watching it for the first time, now you can kind of understand what's going to happen for the rest of the movie from like the perspective of almost the ending.
Yeah,
like this is kind of like the beginning of the end, really.
Yes, and what's interesting too is that this is in the same place as the bar scene, same building, same bar as when.
Yeah, Sheehan's because they had bought Sheehan's bar already too.
Yeah. Because at the beginning of the movie, he initially everyone found out that he was punching McCabe in the same place. Yes. So it's like he gained that legend from the people at the beginning of the movie in the same place he got stripped of it, basically. So
and he doesn't even have his gun on him. Like that's the thing. No gunfighter or whatever would be caught dead without a gun on him, and he's just walking around.
Yeah, he's like that man has never killed anyone.
And then like we see him next scene. Some of my favorite parts, some of my favorite dialogue in the movie is when He's like basically trying to convince himself. This is what I think. He's like trying to convince himself that he's still like something. Basically, like I have the quote here. It's kind of long, but I keep trying to tell you in a lot of different ways. This is him talking to himself, by the way. I keep trying to tell you in a lot of different ways. Just one time, you could be sweet with no money around. I think I could. Well, I'll tell you something. I got poetry in me. I do. I got poetry in me. But I ain't gonna put it down on paper. I ain't no educated man. I got sense enough not to try. Can't never say nothing to you. If you just one time let me run the show, you're just freezing my soul. That's what you're doing, freezing my soul.
Yes. Oh, dude, I wrote it down too. So
that's such a good quote.
It is.
No, it's my favorite quote.
So, do you agree with me? Like, I was kind of struggling, like, what he simply meant. Is that him do you think that's him, like, psyching himself up, like, trying to convince himself, like, I'm still, like, Pudgy McCabe, you know? Like,
He's talking about Mrs. Miller.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
I think, because I was listening to a review about this movie, and they said that, yeah, same thing what Blake said. But when I watch it, to me, it's like he's talking to God.
Okay.
You know, or at least almost like himself / God in terms of, like, basically, especially with the ending, like, you're freezing my soul. Like, I don't know how to describe it exactly. Yeah, no, I think that's why it makes sense with Mrs. Miller, too. But it's almost like, it's kind of like, he's trying to say he's good enough for that. For her, almost. Like, he's trying to psych himself. And to me, that's why I think it could be like God, too. Like, almost like he's like basically trying to convince himself that he's still that person, like you said.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe he thinks he can only be with Mrs. Miller if he's that kind of person. You know, like the person with poetry in himself, you know.
Yeah. Which is, it's such a great...
It's a great moment, too. Because it's a very realistic moment. You know, he's just by himself.
The reason I say it's Mrs. Miller is because I think right after this, he takes a bath and goes to see her, right? Because that's
I think so.
Yeah. Because it's like, we're almost to the end of the movie, but yeah, like, that's the big part. Like, it is him psyching himself up, but to me, it's him psyching himself up to go talk to, like, he's basically practicing what he's going to tell Mrs. Miller in my mind.
Okay,
like, that's what he's doing in that scene.
Okay.
To me,
that's interesting.
but
Yeah. It could be a multitude of things, yeah.
It's a great monologue, though.
Oh, man, yes.
Honestly, like, I'm kind of just going over the, like, I think it could be multiple, like, even in the same conversation, because at the beginning, it definitely seems like he's talking about Mrs. Miller, specifically. Because he's like, just one time you could be sweet with me with no money around. You know, you could say he's talking directly about her. But at the same time, when I was watching the first time, I read it more like he's almost telling himself, or like if he's talking to God in terms of like the whole movie's been about him using money kind of thing, and he's trying to almost say like I have other aspects of me too that I also you know there kind of thing. Even because the whole movie's basically about him.
Oh, that's the poetry thing.
Yes, all of that in terms of like there's other sides to me than just this kind of Western hero almost that he's trying to be, you know, and it makes it more sad too, knowing what's going to happen at the end, you know, where he's gonna die, and it's gonna be just a kind of like not a Western death, but it is a Western death, you know.
No, and one of the books I was reading about Altman, they have a chapter. I think it's one of the beginning chapters. I'm pretty sure. And it's titled "Robert Altman, I Got Poetry in Me." Because in a way, it's like sort of like
you can't forget this line. They can't forget the line. Like if you hear that now, like I'm just gonna think of this movie now.
Honestly,
Warren Beatty saying that,
man,
and just like because that's what I'm saying. Like at the beginning when he says I ain't gonna take no goddamn bath. Like it's the same kind of thing, you know. He's talking to himself, but he's talking to someone else at the same time. But like he would never say it to that person directly. So it is still talking to himself.
Philip Marlowe just kind of...
It's what you say to your mom after she walks out of the room, you know?
Like that.
And Philip Marlowe kind of does the same thing where he kind of talks to himself, like, in a way. Like, it's sort of like a monologue, but just...
See, that's another Altman-esque thing, I guess. At least from these two. But
yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind
more
before I
watch
stuff. But,
well, I think that's something they mentioned in the documentary was at least before McCabe and Mrs. Miller, that wasn't an Altman thing. Like he let Warren just kind of do that in this movie. Like he wanted that to be, he wanted McCabe to be like, because whenever you're watching like a Western story, he's always like a silent heroic figure basically, and then this one he wanted McCabe to be like talking to himself all the time, kind of like just like not like a loser, but like just like talking, just like kind of like a mess,
But and then we go. The next part is when he goes. Basically, he goes back to Bear Paw, the neighboring town or whatever, the nearby town, and he's trying to find the agents that initially talked to him, and basically they're not there. Basically,
they left.
And so because of that, he really goes to visit a lawyer, basically trying to get protection from the mining company, and like the lawyer's like this like politician guy who's like.
I don't think. He might be a lawyer, but he's a senator.
He's running for
Yeah, he's running for senator. Yeah. And he's like,
he basically wants to use him.
Oh my god. He's like,
we'll protect you to the courts.
You're like the American dream fighter, whatever. You know.
This is capitalism.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this is kind of. I think he's kind of saying like almost like the new liberal hero is like the person that wins to the courts. You know, like who wins through the law and everything.
Yeah.
But he also sees that kind of a scam too, because like this guy's also just trying to use him.
Yeah.
No, it's. Because I think basically he's trying to sell them on like, oh, we're gonna make you so popular to the newspapers that they won't be able to touch you, you know, they won't be able to kill you if we make you famous enough, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But it just like once again when you've seen the movie once, knowing how it's gonna end, all of it just seems like just another sales pitch or another bullshit scheme kind of.
Yeah.
Just another guy trying to get ahead using him, you know.
Yeah. Like everyone in America is basically trying to use you, basically.
Yes.
In a way. Yeah, and then I think this might be when he goes and takes a bath and goes see Miss Miller after this, because this is when like Ms. Miller's like actually like really frightened, like telling McCabe like if he doesn't make a deal, she'll make a deal basically with him. It is like her kind of shows like she definitely cares somewhat for McCabe, in this scene. But then this is when we get to the bridge scene, which oh my gosh, this scene is amazing because like. Obviously, I talked about like the anti-Western, like the cowboy comes to go get some socks because he has a long ride ahead of him, and basically the bad guy, like the assistant guy to Butler, meets him on the bridge and is like, and he's like, this kid is like the devil, like in a way, like that's kind of how he is, like he's like no friendliness to him at all, basically, like no, like he's not trying to make conversation at all, like basically like to take off your boots to show me my your socks and stuff, and like and it's like and he's like asking about the gun on his waist, and the cowboy's like, oh I can't shoot I can't shoot a thing basically, and then the bad guy tells him, oh yeah, take it out and show me, which and basically the cowboy
was like, I can fix it for you, because if you get hit with it, it's obviously the gun's problem. Because it's a Colt, which is what he has.
And then basically the cowboy's like, all right, and then he shoots him as soon as he takes him out, which is like the most unfair, like.
Well, it's the way to get away with it in the law. That's why he did it. Okay, because if you can say that's self-defense because he was drawing his gun. That's the only reason he did that. Like that He couldn't shoot him out of cold blood. I mean, he probably could have because it's like far north. It's like what he probably would have just been fine. But like he did it specifically so he could say it was for self-defense.
No, that definitely makes sense.
But I love this scene obviously because it's the death of the Western. Obviously, like that's where this happens here.
And the cowboy should know that. But and he should be able to shoot.
But like it's just the fact that the Western hero, like this cowboy that we see, gets killed by this street urchin. He looks like a punk dude. Like that's he looks like a fucking just like a beggar almost. Like he's got that type of face that's just like he's basically like this like orphan almost. Like he's just like this street urchin, like I said, and he's killing the Western hero basically.
Honestly, that's a good point.
And it's just like not even a death by code, you know. Like,
that's what.
There's not even a code the villains are following anymore.
Extremely unfair.
It's just random, you know.
Fight,
just
but and then like I also love the shot of the cowboy floating in the water, which I'll come back to because it's an interesting comparison to another shot in the final shootout scene.
I want to mention during this during that documentary.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
With him dying.
Yeah, but the guy shot him dying.
Yes, in the bathtub.
Yeah, because
No, I actually couldn't pick up on that either. No, but during that documentary, they had the guy that played the cowboy in the documentary.
Yeah,
and he was talking about this scene specifically, saying like. Yeah, whenever I got there that morning, I saw some guys because this is like it's an actual frozen pond. Like this wasn't a set. Yeah. Like this is an actual frozen pond. And he was like, yeah, I saw some guys out there with like these like drill things, and they were just like poking holes in the ice, and I just thought it was for some gunfight that was going to happen. And then Altman came up to me and said, okay, so this is what's going to happen. You're gonna he's gonna shoot you, and we're gonna yank you back on these with these cords into the pond. And he was like, I was 20, and I was like, okay. And so so he had like only a wetsuit on under that, and only on the upper half.
Oh.
And so, like, he was like, whenever that gunshot happened, the yank from the wires that were connected to him that pulled him off the bridge, and then he slammed in the ice like that. And it was one take because they only had one take, obviously. Yeah. And so he was like, whenever he fell through the ice, basically, he said he was laying there thinking like, I have to be dead, but I'm so fucking cold right now. And he was just like, I was begging Altman to call cut so long, but
that looks like awful.
Yeah.
Water, like that water looks cold.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Which of course is because of the realism of it, like the actually being a frozen pond. It helps a lot.
No, and throughout, I don't know if we've mentioned this yet, but like it does start to snow like during these moments, like basically like it's starting to pick up, like the snow's starting to pick up.
Which I think apparently I saw that I read that they weren't actually really planning for the final sequence to be a snow.
No, they weren't.
It just kind of happened.
Well,
it's like one of those perfect.
They were wanting it to happen, but. So this is actually in the documentary too. Yeah. Like Altman, I guess whenever the snow, like they had a snowstorm come, and the people that lived in Canada or that lived where they were shooting said like, yeah, we can just wait for this to pass. It'll probably pass in like a week or so. Yeah. And because they were like not done like shooting, they weren't to the end yet. Yeah. And so Altman was like, no, screw that. We're going to do the end now. And so, like, they started, like, they filmed the entire ending, like, as the snow starts picking up, they filmed it all up backwards. Because the snow was heaviest at the beginning, and it kept on gradually diminishing throughout the... So they filmed everything from whenever the snow started, like, actually heavy. Like, they filmed everything, like, backwards. So, like, they started with the end. But yeah, no, it's crazy because he was like, I think Altman was like, yeah, Dr. Zhivago waited a year for the snow. Which I haven't seen Dr. Zhivago, but apparently it's like a huge snow scene. And apparently they waited a year to like shoot that just for the snow to come. So he was like, we have the snow here right now. I'm going to shoot it, and so they just shot it.
Oh my god,
which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, Altman definitely also had to because he often did movies like back to back to back. Like he would apparently like I saw in like a interview like he. In the 70s, like he basically like sold his home and basically him and his family just moved to where the movie was taken, basically. Damn. But yeah, and I think this next scene is like the scene like McCabe and Mrs. Miller like sleeping together for the last time, basically. Which she like leaves in the morning too. And he wakes up, and it's like go time. This is the final shootout, basically. It's the final scene, they're out to get him, basically. And yeah, this final scene is shootout. This final like, would you call it like a final shootout scene? I don't know. Label it, but
especially the very beginning, the way it's set up is like, you know, he's going to the clock tower to get the best view and everything. Yeah,
dude. But then even that the best part, there's no sound whatsoever.
Yes.
And like that's obviously for a purpose because like whenever it's snowing like that, snow hides all sound.
Okay,
which it's just such a great choice.
Just the
this is also so and we mentioned already. This is whenever the movie comes into sharp focus. Yes. Like that's why I said like to me this is like the death of the Western basically because like what we're seeing in this last part is not what we would think a Western hero is. Like McCabe shooting people in the back, hiding around, oh god, I don't want to die. Like that's literally how this feels. Like which obviously
they all have like rifles.
Yeah, they all have rifles. Like they're hunting him, and he's just hiding and literally shooting people in the back, trying to gain every advantage he can. And this isn't like the Western hero we've ever seen, basically. Yeah. But it's like that's why I consider it the death of Western because it's like. This is Altman saying this is like what really happened. This is real. Like this is real life. Like what we were seeing before this was not like super real. It was like still somewhat of a myth. Yeah. But like this right here, right now, this is like actually real.
That's a good observation.
Honestly, that's a good because I think that's why this scene is the brightest of the movie too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Almost like he's showing this is the realest part of the movie. Almost.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the haziness works. The haziness and griminess of the first half of the movie, or most of the movie.
Yeah.
It works, like, because Altman was obviously going for a more realistic of, like... I know I read something where he said something like, the reason why they flashed the film before and everything, and they wanted to make it look like that is, he wanted to be like, what would it be like to film a movie in the 1800s?
Yeah.
You know, and, like, how the film would survive, and, like, how bad the quality of the film would have been back then and stuff like that. But... At the same time, it still does add a little bit to that myth-making aspect of it. Still makes gives you the feel of like 1800s movie or whatever. Yeah. So that's why I think it's so significant that the ending is very bright, like was saying, because that is like the most realistic part of the movie. And why I keep saying like knowing the ending, it does reframe the rest of the movie too when you watch it again.
Yeah.
You know, almost like undercutting it or being like, you know, this is a myth. This is a myth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point.
Because it does stand out. Because the whole movie in your head is like, when you think of the movie in your head, it's like most of it's very dark and kind of just the camera's floating everywhere, and then the last scene is very different. It's like on purpose.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Honestly, yeah. Good point. But yeah, getting into the scene, he runs to the church, grabs a shotgun, and like I think he like sets it down and to go look up in the watchtower. Which the scenes of like Altman's camera just like looking out from the tower is so cool.
It is
like
so good.
the guys like the three bad guys like going to look for McCabe, and then he goes back down and the pastor has the gun, the shotgun, and basically threatened him to get out of the church. Which I don't think we seen the pastor the whole movie.
No, I mean that's what I was kind of saying before with like the brothel being the jewel is like the church is typically thought of as like that's where the community of like the town is like that it's all like the lifeblood of the town is the church, but then like the first time we see the church it's not even fully built. Pastor we've never seen before and he's just got a gun saying get out of my house and it's and McCabe's like I'll get out of the house but I need my gun first like it's just
and then basically the when the pastor gets him out then the I forget his name the 7-foot guy basically goes in the church and shoots the pastor dead. Because, and in a way, like I feel like if the pastor didn't have the gun, he wouldn't have gotten shot.
Yeah,
which
I think so.
No, that's definitely true.
Yeah, but yeah, and then we see and then in the process of shooting it dead, he knocks over a lantern, which starts the fire of the church. Which I don't know if there's messaging in the specific fire of the church catching on fire. Maybe that has to time it like. The kind of showing like this is really not the real community. Yeah. But at the same time, like he's definitely saying something with everyone going to rush towards.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I think he still does believe in this real community. That's
it's
the one time where we see everyone work together.
Yes.
Movies.
Well, it shows the progress of like just the steam engine and stuff like that. Like they have a fire truck, like that can actually help put out fire.
This is the first time you see, like most people aren't in the brothel. This is like the first time you see a lot of people not like in. Like a lot of the prostitutes are going out. Like you don't see them anywhere else, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
it's the morning, you know. No one's at the brothel right whenever they wake up. Hopefully, no. I'm just kidding.
I mean, here there probably is though.
Sure, yeah.
And then we see McCabe like go into his bar real quick and like get himself a drink. Like
it's just so funny because he's like he's just running around like so fast. Like he's just like scurrying. Like that's the best word for it. Like literally just scurrying around trying to like not be seen by anyone.
like taking a drink. Like I gotta be buzzed for this, you know. Like,
which I almost feel like Warren. I don't think you guys have seen Buster Keaton's Out West or whatever or Go West. I can't remember. He did a western. where there's a scene of that kind of like the scene where McCabe's like crawling around like drinking like I don't know. It kind of reminded me of like a Buster Keaton gag almost. But
but yeah, this is where he hides in a house and basically camps in the corner to shoot the
camping motherfucker.
The kid the kid that was on the bridge,
corner camper.
But this is what I was saying. Like it makes an interesting comparison to the bridge scene. This scene because he shoots the kid. This kid being shot is the one who shot the cowboy on the bridge. Yeah, and he falls back into the bathtub. And he is basically he finally his what do I even call this? Like his body is laying down in the water the same as the cowboy. What's interesting. Kind of and it also ties in because. Every one of these deaths, of the bad guys' deaths, are face down in the snow, which I feel like is also something about de-romanticizing it. Because like I feel like in a lot of westerns, like when someone dies, they're usually like.
Does the other guy fall down face down too?
I think so. Yeah. He does.
Oh, well, I know the second guy does, but I was talking.
I'm pretty sure.
Guy, but I couldn't remember because I thought he fell down the. No, that was McCabe. Whenever he was okay.
Yeah, because like. In a way, like
I thought that he shot like he surprised him and shot him in the head, and then he falls back and lays like face down. Okay. But the thing is, it still plays to the deconstruction because his face is so stupid in that scene. But
and just like because
he still got the shock.
I feel like in a lot of like westerns, like usually someone gets shot, and when they're dying, they're like someone's like going to help them and like be like, oh, here's my last words or whatever. But like it's just like they're just dead, like face down, not glamorous at all, not a glamorous death at all. But so he shoots this guy, and the kid when he was falling back, he got a shot off at McCabe.
2 shots, yeah.
2 shots, okay, yeah.
Well, he got hit in the stomach and the leg. So.
Stomach and leg, okay, yeah. Which McCabe then like I think he runs to a different place. It might be the same place. It's not really clear, to be honest.
No, he's just running around.
Yeah, he's just running, and he's like fixing the wound. But then, this is my favorite part of the shootout. Honestly, like he sees the guy walking by the house, and basically you see from McCabe's perspective, he shoots his pistol through the window of the door when he's walking by. But what you see, you don't know if he's dead or not.
Yeah.
And so like McCabe's like shoots, and then he's like creeping forward to see like is gonna like be careful to see if he's dead. And basically the way Altman shoots this, he opens the door, and the camera is just focusing on the little trails of blood, and he just goes up it, and then finally you see the guy face down.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, what
such
a good shot! Such an interesting way to show that.
It's a great shot.
Yeah, and then basically, then this is when McCabe stumbles into like the wooded area, and then the tall bad guy shoots him in the back. Basically, like not a fair thing at all. Like we've been saying, which then the tall bad guy goes to check if he's dead, and then McCabe surprise shoots him basically.
Yeah.
Like John Wick 4. Spoilers for John Wick 4. But,
I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't thinking about that whenever I watched it. Yeah,
it's like a very similar ending.
It is actually. Because I honestly, I don't think McCabe got hit by the gun.
Do you not? Okay.
I think he died by the kid before. Like he just died from the gut.
Well, also because he's sitting in the
he's just sitting in the snow. But like I don't think because like that gun that the guys carry, that Butler, I think is his name Butler.
His name's Butler. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the gun that he's carrying is made for hunting bear, and if he would have hit McCabe, he wouldn't fucking be dead. So I think like McCabe heard the shot and just obviously played dead because he doesn't like he knows. That's the thing is like McCabe's not the typical hero, but he is. Like he's not a gunfighter at all, but he is still smart whenever it comes to fighting. Like
also, if you
he uses every advantage. Every advantage.
Also, if you hear a gunshot and you're him, you're
gonna go like or you're just gonna be scared shitless and like fall down. Like
no, that's why I think Blake's saying it, like he's smart because you could see a person hearing a gun and just look away or get scared, but he just goes down right away.
Yeah.
Almost like assuming this guy was shooting at him. Yeah. So it's like. No, I can see that reading too. I thought he just got shot, but I can see that for sure.
Yeah. The only reason I don't think he got shot is because we never see any blood from that gun wound. Like we only ever see him messing with his stomach and his leg that the kid shot. Whenever at the very beginning, and the guy's gun is fucking huge. Like if he would have been hit by that, I would have left some sort of damage, in my opinion. But I don't know.
Yeah, maybe hit him like the shoulder or something. That could be too. Like
I don't know. But we would have seen
crawl after.
He's walking. He's walking. He's walking until he like runs out of stamina, basically, and that's why he dies in the snow. He dies from he's froze to death.
Which then Altman like he shows like the townspeople like celebrating extinguishing the fire.
Yeah.
And then shows McCabe just dying, basically like sitting in the snow like.
It makes you think of what he said earlier. Remember, you're freezing my soul.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Good point.
You're freezing my soul, but also maybe they're celebrating the death of this hero, this myth.
Celebrating like.
Because it is like because it is like modern, because it is like it's a very modern scene because they do have this like the fire truck is there, like it is that's a huge thing in this movie. Like it's in the background, but that is a big part of this movie. Is like the steam engine made this possible, made this like expansion possible to the west. But
then we also see he also cuts to Mrs. Miller, basically like just.
She's in the like I'm just gonna call it Chinatown because that's what, but like she's with all the Chinese people too.
Yeah, and she's just like lying down high on opium. Like, basically giving like a bad ending
to the score, like to the song, like just ending with him like I'm just another stop on your way. Like I'm just another. Oh, that's so good. As you just see it. Like,
is that Leonard Cohen's song?
Yeah. It's all lyrics. Like it's only that. It's only that song playing.
It's the same song.
It's the same song. It's just playing different parts of it.
Yeah. No. It's actually 3 songs. Actually, I read that.
Really?
Yeah. There's
I thought it was just all the
and there's like one that's called A Tale of Winter or something like that.
I think during these specific moments we're saying it's that.
No, this one's the same song as the very beginning.
They play it in the middle when like during their sex scene when Blake was talking about what you talked about earlier. it plays that. I'm pretty sure it plays the same lines too. Because I wrote it down. It plays at least that same phrase of "I know I'm not your lover."
Yeah, I'm not.
Because the first time when they get the romantic sex scene, the song is like undercutting it by literally telling us they're not lovers. Like basically they can't be lovers. And it replays that same thing, like basically
to be honest,
showing us now.
When I watched these, I didn't really pay much attention to the song lyrics.
I
need to do that.
No, the song
there are
lyrics
different
point
moments
out.
where they point out different words. Yeah, the words are specific to the scene.
Which I say another time. I've already watched it 3 times this year.
This year, dude?
Yeah, so
I can't say. Yeah, it's a great one. I mean, I've watched it twice this year. So.
Yeah, it's definitely rewatchable, honestly, for sure. Like, especially that.
And it's like it goes by so fast too.
That too.
And the last shot's so fucking good. Just like the slow zoom in onto her eye. Like,
and Altman is definitely fantastic. He doesn't really like his movies are very well paced, basically. Like
with her looking, what is she looking at again? A ring?
I don't.
She's looking at something that he gave her, right?
I would need to rewatch and see.
Or something that it's something that was like specific to their relationship. I'm pretty sure that she's looking at,
it's like a microscopic view of it,
and then it just slowly zooms into her eye, and then you see the like reflection in her eye, basically, kind of like that item, and then it just goes. That's it.
Yeah,
it's
just
an
an
amazing last shot.
Yeah, it is
amazing.
I don't remember what she had, but
because I thought it was like just zoomed in on her eye or something.
It is a zoom in on her eye, but she's looking at something.
Okay, yeah. What did he give her? Yeah, I think it is something with them. But
well,
so good.
That's McCabe and Mrs. Miller, fantastic movie. We spent a long time on that one. Damn,
we want to take a break.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a long goodbye, and it happens every day when some passerby invites your eye to come her way. Even as she smiles a quick hello, you let her go, you let the moment fly. Too late you turn your head, you know you said the long goodbye. Can you recognize the theme? On some other street, two people meet as in a dream, running for a plane through the rain. If the heart is quicker than the eye, they could be lovers until they die.
All right, and we're back. So now we're gonna get into the long goodbye. Before we really get into the movie, what are y'all's overall thoughts on the long goodbye? Blake, I'll start with you.
No, I really enjoy the long goodbye because it's not really a noir, honestly. It is like a deconstruction of the noir, but it's definitely not the typical noir.
It's like a neo-noir, like a post.
It's definitely post-noir, but it's more so like trying to be like this weird, funny version of like a noir, basically. I don't know. It's just like and the reason it's like that is obviously because of Elliot Gould, and he's fucking amazing. Like he's the one that makes this movie, obviously. Like Altman was made the best choice of all time. Whenever he was like, yeah, let's get Elliot Gould to do this part.
He could. Like I was saying, like I wish he could just be in his prime forever, so he could just like star in a bunch of movies. Because he's just so good at just like capturing your attention, like being like just like set him loose, and like you can just be like the cool like wisecracking like
And I said this earlier, but one of my other favorite parts about this movie is like it makes you feel like a voyeur, like what you were saying earlier. Like Altman is kind of like that, but like this movie for sure is like that because I love how the camera is always moving. You notice it because it's always moving. And it's always making you feel like you're looking at something you're not really supposed to, almost. Okay, I can see that. Like, kind of like a Private Eye is. Like that's what Private Eyes do. Like, they're just snooping on people, and that's kind of what we're doing in this movie, it feels like, so.
But the camera does feel like that. I really like this one, too. To me, this one feels like just way more a relaxing watch.
Oh, yeah.
Way more easygoing, and, like, especially rewatching it, kind of knowing, like, there's really no tied... There's, like, usually when... You're like watching a film noir, like you're expecting the loose ends to get tied up, like kind of neatly in some way. In this one, like, you could say the loose ends get tied up, but they're not neatly, you know. And it's like, do they even really get tied up? Like,
yeah, which I'm gonna bring up because another movie, which we reviewed on the podcast, was The Big Sleep, and that main character is Philip Marlowe as well, because they're written by both these stories are written by the same writer.
Okay.
And we said in that episode, like, this movie is like Big Sleep was kind of like another deconstruction of the noir, like a satire in a way, because it got really complex. It wasn't really like solid at the end. You really didn't know what was going on.
Damn, I didn't even watch that. Then.
So in a way, that's kind of similar to how this one is, because they are written by the same Raymond Chandler.
That makes so much sense now. Why people? Because like. Why they kind of marketed it kind of wrong at the beginning, because like it doesn't feel like a noir, it doesn't feel like a Humphrey Bogart movie, but that's almost what it feels like the studio wanted it to be.
Yeah,
because like the main poster, like the poster that you see on Letterboxd, let's say, like with Elliot Gould with a cigarette holding a gun, like that's not what the movie is.
Oh yeah,
like they opened the movie with that poster and everything, and like. Robert, they ended up pulling the movie after like a couple weeks because it was doing so poorly.
Yeah.
And Altman basically just went to like I think it was people at Mad Magazine and said, "Here, make us a poster. This is what our movie is. Like, make us a poster for it." And it's the poster that you've seen, like on my Blu-ray. That's the poster they have, and that's what they re-released it as, and it ended up doing way better after that because it still didn't make a ton of money because they opened it in LA like with that other poster, and like so they couldn't reopen it there because they had people had already seen it.
Yeah,
but it got the target audience right after they like made the poster correct, basically, like showing what. Like, he's not trying to be Humphrey Bogart. Like, he's not trying to, like, be this noir guy. Like, it's not that type of movie, basically.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But, yeah, wait, we didn't really like it. Do you have any more?
Specific, like, I guess we'll talk about it as we go in. I think I like McCabe more. Okay. And I guess we'll talk about more about the very ending. That I don't like as much. Maybe that's the main reason. Other than that, I think this is just a pretty great watch. And, I think it's a great rewatch too, knowing that there isn't all these tied up. Like, you can just enjoy it. Your
love of Hong Kong movies, and you don't like the ending of this.
Why? What?
He has this code of conduct that he's so on. Like, the only reason he helps him is because he's his friend, and that's the reason the ending happens.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
I don't know. I just wanted to
coming to that
because I like that.
It's him coming to that realization, like all this was for like Because I do like, and I guess we can kind of just get into the review. Like I do like how it introduces, like when we see the friend for the first time, and he's like, "I need to go to Tijuana." It just cuts to him taking him. And that's where I can see what you're saying, like the whole brotherhood thing. Yeah. Like Elliot Gould is definitely a strong believer in that. Like, you just don't ask questions, you just do what your friend says.
Oh, man.
But like,
you just help a friend out. Yeah.
But that's almost, you could say, like the friend myth being just
it also ties into the title. The title's called The Long Goodbye. And it's basically a long goodbye to a friendship, basically. But I guess I'll say my overall. It's like Long Goodbye I watched at the end of December, and like I was just like blown away by first. I was just like, oh my gosh, like where has this movie been all my life? You know, like why didn't I watch this sooner? And this movie is just so addicting to me. Just like basically just watching Elliot Gould be cool, like just the music, the story. It's just so easy to watch and so comfortable, which Altman's just so good at. And this time I especially noticed like how much of this is a deconstruction of the private investigator genre, basically, like the detective genre in a way, which we'll talk about a lot, which made me appreciate it even more. Like in another like gave another layer to it for me. But yeah, so I guess we can go and get to the movie. So one of my favorite opening scenes of all time, for obvious reasons. Like just okay. First of all, I tried to look up this and I couldn't find anything on it. How did he get the cat to act like that? Like.
Oh, I have no idea, man.
I think I was reading like an interview he did in like 2001.
Okay.
But I think someone in the audience asked him a question about how he filmed the cats, and he said they used 6 different cats.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
And then each cat was trained to do a specific kind of thing.
That's.
But I don't know if that's in those throughout the movie or just the specific scene.
Well, I mean, the cat's only in there for
I guess they've been getting so it has to what happened for that,
Man, but just the way the cat's just like. Everywhere he goes, the cat's just like on, like jumping to him, egging him on, like give me food. Oh my gosh! I mean, you get like the meows and stuff. I also just really like cats. So, it's a great scene. But and then like basically he realizes he's out of the Curry brand cat food and has to go to the store or whatever. which he's like he can't find the cat food, and then he goes he asks the employee like you got anything like any curry about cat food, and then gets like the guy's like my sir like we have so much cat food here that it should all taste the same, you know, and he's like, and then Marlowe's like don't you have a cat? And he's like, and the boy's like, I don't got a cat, I got a girl.
Yeah.
Which
it
kind of does like put into context like how like Marlowe's kind of different from everyone. Like he isn't like interested in romance or anything, you know. Like he's very like focused on his cat and whatever, like his job or whatever. But also forgot to mention, this movie it opens with Marlowe waking up basically. In a way, like Marlowe is kind of embodies like the 1940s like private noir. A lot of people say like it's basically like metaphorically like him waking up from like a 20-year, like 30.
I have heard that too. Like he's like ad time. He's a detective
Basically.
ad time. Yeah.
Yes. Like, and you see that throughout.
I think Elliot Gould actually said that too. Like,
he say
that's
that?
that's
Okay.
what he said. Like because on the Blu-ray on this one, they have a interview with Elliot Gould and with Robert Altman. They just like make a little thing about like with it.
Yes.
But Elliot Gould did say that's how he was playing it. Like he woke up like he was like a detective at a time basically. He was basically implying this was like a sci-fi movie almost,
Honestly,
or like a time travel movie.
because it does seem like he's in a slightly different movie. Not even slightly.
Which is like what I meant with like the Brotherhood type thing. Like he has this code that doesn't exist anymore basically in this time in this day and age. Like
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he takes the curry brand cat food back home, or not the curry, a different brand cat food, and tries to disguise the cat food. But then the cat still wouldn't notice it, and he's like, whatever. Like, cat just runs away. He's like, all right, whatever. You're not getting food, basically. But then we get to the scene where Terry Lennox goes and asks Marlowe to help him, to give him a lift to Tijuana to escape, and which you said he cuts it up. But I also want to mention like the fact that like it's kind of funny thinking about it in retrospective. They go to Mexico. He goes to Mexico like 2 or 3 times in this movie. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Like
It must be 3 times.
like
Yeah.
I mean he went to like kind of the border in the scene. Like he didn't really actually like go into Tijuana, but like
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. He like goes
4 times. Then because he goes this time, then the first time meeting the cops, the second time. Well, I guess that's all once. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny thinking about that, but basically he comes back home and he's met by 2 police detectives basically, who start to question about Lennox, and this is kind of the first part. A big part of like the deconstruction is like when Marlowe's like obviously like he's acting like he knows what's back. He's like saying what they're about to say. Like he said. Is this the part where I'm supposed to say what is this all about? And he says, "Shut up! I asked the question." Like basically telling him what he's fixing to say. Like he basically knows the routine basically at this point. Like oh man, which Altman doesn't shy away from showing that the policemen are assholes in this movie. Everyone's kind of an asshole in a way. Like maybe not like I guess Ivy Wake.
No, in this one everyone is.
Yeah, I guess anyone.
No, not only an asshole. Everyone is lying.
Okay, yeah, like
Almost basically everyone is lying to him in this movie. Like
That's a good way to say it.
every time someone is telling a story, it's like not all true. Like even from the very beginning, like he goes to, like, my favorite example of this is when he goes to the doctor's office, and he's like, "Where's Dr. Behringer?"
Okay,
and Behringer's standing right there.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, Behringer's not here right now."
Yeah.
And he's like, he just doesn't buy people's bullshit too. That's why it makes him a good detective in some ways. Like, honestly, that could be a theme of the movie. Is like being a good detective is just not buying people's bullshit.
Yeah,
You know,
honestly,
it's like people are lying to you most of the time if you just understand that.
Yes.
Which is, I guess, what makes the one person he doesn't think who's lying to him.
Yeah.
The friend.
Yeah.
It makes
Yes.
it more sad, you know, than
man.
ending because it's like
Honestly, yeah. I didn't
that's like the one thing he's kind of been fighting. You know, like that's been his truth though.
Because like
My friend, I know my
Yeah.
Terry Lennox didn't kill this guy.
in a typical
didn't kill her.
Yeah, in a typical private investigator movie or whatever, like he would be right about it. Like that the whole movie's building up to like, okay, here's the real murder,
Yes.
like whatever.
But and yeah, I guess that's what makes the ending great is like he's right about it, but he's also not right about it because they were working together.
Yeah.
Yes, okay,
like,
yeah.
You know, like he was kind of right about it too, but like he wasn't
yeah,
because he was right about Terry Lennox, like, it doesn't make sense that Terry Lennox would just go to Mexico and kill himself.
Yeah.
He's like, I know my friend better than that kind of thing.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I buy that too. Yeah, there has to be something more to this. You know, and you're kind of wanting him to be right. You know, the first time you're watching it.
For sure.
I don't know. Yeah, it is interesting.
And it's just kind of a sad ending too. Like it makes the ending more sad.
Yeah,
basically.
it definitely does. Yeah.
But Marlo gets taken into custody, and this is the interrogation room scene, which this scene's
So
obviously
good,
hilarious,
yeah.
and which I learned after recently. The scene was all improvised by.
I learned
Cole.
this whenever I watched the interview on the Blu-ray. Yes.
Just like he takes like the hand and he's like putting it on his face like he's like well, first of all, I love when he goes he looks at the one-way glass door and he's like, hi boys, like and then he has the handing, and I think the police detective asks him like what you been up to or whatever, like what are you gonna do or whatever, and he puts the ink on it under his eyes like the eye black like football players wear. He's like, well, we're racing off against Notre Dame, you know. I'm gonna throw a few touchdown passes or something like that. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
But
it is.
Who's like the lieutenant? We don't see him that much, but I think he's like a famous actor.
Is he?
I'll have to see his name.
Yeah, I'm not for sure, but they kind of have the junior, like the lower ranked investigator investigated him once, but like he couldn't get anything out of him. So they taken like the more senior guy, which like I feel like Marlo it showed like he definitely has more respect for him, which then finally they finally tell Marlo that Sylvia Lennox was killed basically.
Well, that's why they let him go.
Well, no. Sylvia Lennox was killed. He didn't know. Marlo didn't know at that point that. What's the guy? Terry Lennox.
Oh, okay.
He didn't know.
Okay.
That's the reason they held him. Yes, because they only released him whenever Terry died.
Yeah, he finds out about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when they let him go is when they find out that Terry Lennox committed suicide.
Yes. You're right about that. Yeah. But
see, that's I guess like this is just making me think of this now as like maybe in another detective movie he would be the ones finding that out.
Yeah.
I just like how he finds about like basically the reason why he's there is because of the cops, and then they let him like, and then the information that lets him free is not because of him at all too.
Yeah. Okay.
The same way at the ending too, where it's like the reason why he gets out of the jam and with the whole gang members and stuff where they're like stripping.
Yeah.
It's not because of him at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
It's almost like he's a private detective that's just kind of getting lucky a lot of times too, but. I don't know. It's just he's like a weird. He's kind of just floating in.
Yeah, he's just like kind of just like he's.
I really like that he's out of the 40s, literally like a sci-fi, literally. You know, but you just never say it.
He's very like he also is very chill the whole movie too. Like
he's not.
No, that's the whole saying. Like
he's
just like it's okay with me.
Like, it's okay with me. Yes.
Like it's so fucking good, dude. Like it's just
I
like
love that. Like his and that's what gives you like a kind of confidence while you're watching him is like. Even if he has, like, that's what I'm saying, he's getting lucky a lot of the times, you still kind of feel like he knows what's going on because his reactions to everything is, like, literally the same.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like he doesn't feel like all of a sudden he got lucky.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, all right, let's keep going.
Guess that,
like, it's almost like he did plan it somehow, you know?
Yes. Good point. Yeah, and also I forgot to mention, the fact that he lights cigarettes, like, off of, like, anything.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's like one of the popular Letterboxd reviews I saw.
What was it say?
It was something like, Elliot Gould can light a match on anything.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like he does it like on like curtains and like I think he does it on the ground at some point too. Like
honestly, that might be on a YouTube video already. Just every cut of him lighting something.
You need to make that if there is one.
You need to make that first.
But
that would be a good one though.
Honestly, yeah. But yeah, then we get the scene where basically he gets released from the jail and learns that Terry Lennox killed himself. But Marlo immediately doesn't believe it. Like we said, like he feels like he knows his friend enough that like, oh, that wouldn't happen, like you said. He immediately has suspicion about it. Which then he goes to the bar or whatever. Which also mentioned the soundtrack in this movie. So the score is actually by John Williams. Funnily enough, and throughout you hear like the same song every time, but it's like sometimes it's like it's from like a guy playing a piano or a car radio or like and it's always like a different. There's like different.
Whenever they go to Mexico, they have like the people like playing trumpets and like that band walk
Yes.
through and they're literally like playing the same tune, the like
Yes.
Long Goodbye. It's
Oh my
fucking
gosh,
awesome.
And like there's like different people singing it. Like
Yes,
oh man,
yes.
it's so good. It's like it's such an interesting way.
Yeah, is Elliot Gould the one singing it? I know it's not him, but like it almost sounds like Elliot Gould sometimes.
Which one
singing
are you talking
the
about?
very beginning.
Oh
Just
no,
like-
that's Jack something.
Jack something.
He's a Jack Sheldon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he which I also know because John Cassavetes uses a song of his in his movies. But yeah, anyway, so I guess this is when he gets hired by Eileen Wade, which we meet Eileen Wade, which basically she hires Marlowe to find her missing husband, who's like Roger Wade's such an interesting character. He's a writer, but he's so like out of control. Like he's so unpredictable too. Like which is played by Sterling Hayden, who apparently was drunk and high the whole time.
Oh, really?
On this movie, yes.
Makes his performance even better.
Yeah,
honestly.
which makes sense after when you
No,
watch
that
it.
definitely
Honestly,
makes sense.
He acts drunk and high the whole time.
Well, he's not acting, I guess.
I guess.
And
He's a method actor.
and his character is also sad because like he's obviously struggling because he has writer's block basically apparently.
Writer's
Yeah.
block.
Yeah.
But also their marriage just kind of ended. I
Yeah.
think that's another long goodbye. Like what
Yeah,
the movie
honestly.
can mean too.
Yeah.
Kind of just the goodbye of their marriage.
There's a lot, I
almost.
mean, yeah, there's like the long goodbye to Elliot Gould's cat, you know, like
Yes, honestly, that's the most depressing one. But.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Especially since he brings it up at the end too, like because he
Yeah.
doesn't mention it.
Well, that's
throughout the
also-
yeah,
movie.
you kind of forget about it.
That's
yeah.
also
But-
a long goodbye to friendship too. I feel like.
Yeah, that's
like
what I said
that's
earlier,
the
yeah.
well, no, like the cat specifically, because like the
Okay.
cat leaves him whenever he doesn't give him the right food. Like,
Okay.
like I don't know.
Well, he
It's-
blames. Let's think he
that's like
blames.
I feel like the
but he
cat is
blames
friendship.
Terry
in this
Lennox. I
also.
don't know if he blames Terry Lennox, but he's like, I lost my. He says something.
I
like-
lost my cat.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
he's just telling him all the shitty stuff that's happened to him,
he's like,
basically.
I lost my
Yeah.
cat because of you or something.
No, yeah,
Oh,
but
man.
but like that's what the cat represents to me. Somewhat as like
I'd say
friendship
that, yeah.
in this movie.
Okay.
Also.
The cat's like Terry Lennox, basically.
Yeah, or just like this friend, like just this myth of friendship, or not. Well, maybe not even just not like a myth, but the topic of friendship.
Yeah, which we also see in this.
But see, I don't know. I kind of like the cat too because the cat's
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's trying to. I mean, Elliot Gould's not doing it on purpose, but it's like the cat's just kind of smart enough to know what what
Yeah.
crazy cat brand food is.
Yeah, even when Marlowe puts it,
Yeah,
like
puts
a
the fake
different
name on and
container,
stuff.
yeah. But in the scene with Eileen Wade too, we also Marlowe also like lifts up her hair to see the bruise on her on her neck, which kind of isn't really mentioned after this scene, but it's just it's just another hint of
It's
like,
implied. Well, yeah, the
He brings
bruise
it up
is
later,
mentioned,
yeah.
but-
Well, I guess okay, yeah.
Well, it's like,
think
and also just the way Terry, or not Terry, what's his name, Roger, yeah,
Roger
the
Wade.
way Roger acts around his wife whenever he's
Yeah.
drunk is very like, because like there's that one scene where he's like basically yelling at her, or like he like kind of like snaps real quick and like yells at her, and she like covers her face like really scared.
yeah.
It's just like a little thing, but it's
Yeah.
like that's only something you do if you know that the person's hit you before. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Their scenes
there's
are,
just
like,
these little
insane.
things. There's just these little like little things that actors do. The actors do during these scenes that are just
Yes.
amazing. But.
Honestly, yeah. But yeah, so we Marlowe goes to the hospital. It's like a rehab facility in a way, or for like or is it like is it like a mental hospital? I can't really know. It's like I guess it's probably maybe both or whatever, but regardless.
It's a mental asylum, probably.
Is it? Okay.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
But yeah, and basically because Roger Wade is known to be like he's had
Mental problems.
yeah, and like he's had stays there basically, like
Yeah.
visits there, like he's had to go there basically. Which then we see. This is also when we get introduced to the security guard who does the impersonations.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yes,
man.
yes.
And he does the Jimmy Stewart one here, which is a great impression, I have to admit. But there's a funny scene with him later, which I love.
Yes.
But this is the scene you were talking about when he walks in. Is like asking if Roger Wade is here. And they're
Wait,
like,
no. The security guard is the security guard for their house complex.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think
Yes.
Marlowe's
when
like,
he's leaving.
he's either leaving or he's coming
No,
in,
but
actually.
because we do actually, this is actually a clue at the very beginning of the movie. We see this security guard with Terry Lennox leaving in his car
Oh, okay, yeah.
for a brief shot, and like rewatching, I realized, shit, that's like the big telling us that Terry Lennox and Sylvia were actually together and everything,
Yeah,
and
okay.
like he was leaving their place at the beginning of the movie when he goes
Okay,
to visit
yeah,
them.
okay, now I remember that. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I guess they do live nearby too. So
Yeah,
that also
they
makes
are
sense,
like, they are close together.
But I guess I took it as more as like, you know, they were together kind of thing. Like that's
Yeah.
another clue.
he's obviously leaving from there.
Yeah.
But although I guess in that scene he does mention that he had a fight with his wife. He mentioned that to Marlowe in that initial scene. But
Yes,
anyway,
he does.
yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I do remember what you're talking because he does impersonate someone else, I think, in that scene, but I forgot who it is.
At the very beginning?
Yeah, doesn't he? I think?
No. At the very beginning, we just maybe he does. What is
Yeah.
he talks to Terry Lennox about something?
Yeah, but I forgot who though. But basically, yeah. So I love the scene of like so you're saying Marlowe's like asking if Dr. Behringer's there when he's right there and they lie to him. They're saying Roger Wade isn't there. So he's like, okay, great, and then he walks and he just like goes into the he doesn't.
Well,
like,
it's
listen-
another. He says it a few times. This is another time where he says, "Crazy ladies, it's okay with me."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, he says the same thing to a very similar scene at the in the movie when Sylvia Wade has like sold her house and she's gone on the run basically.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's basically figured out what's going on.
Yeah.
He asked the real estate agent where she is,
Okay.
and she's like, "I can't tell you."
She told me not to.
Yeah, she told me. Yeah, it's part of our real estate. You have to go talk to the manager or something if you want to know. And he says the exact same thing.
Okay.
Crazy lady says okay with me, and you know, just more people lying to him.
Yeah.
Okay. But okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I love the scene where he's.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay with me. To me, it's more just like he doesn't understand what's going on, but it's okay
It's
anyway.
okay.
So
It's like his attitude towards life.
yeah, like yeah, I was like I don't understand, but that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, then he goes. He doesn't listen to them and goes into like the back backyard basically of the hospital. And I love like how he's like asking people like, oh, do you know what Roger Wade is? And like when they keep shushing him, he starts to go up and be like, I'm trying to deliver this book to Roger Wade.
Yeah.
And because he's like holding a book of Roger Wade's. And then finally, Dr. Behringer puts up to him. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And then he goes, "I'm trying to deliver this book," and then turns away from him. Basically, like that would work, like to get him away. It's so funny. But yeah, then he this is kind of a funny thing in the movie. Like after this like scene, it quickly cuts back to him at Eileen Wade's house and basically saying, "Okay, yeah, I figured he's there." And then they like immediately the next scene he goes back there. So it's like it's very interesting how he does that. Like
I think it's because the doctor stops him the first time.
yes, okay.
The doctor does interrupt him the first time when he's on the path. He's like, "You gotta go home." And stuff.
Okay.
But he's still like he knows the doctor's lying to him, which makes him
Yes.
want to go back.
Yes.
But he goes. I think the reason why he goes back to Sylvia first is because he wants her to go first.
Okay.
And she's
yeah.
like, "No, he's bad with me, but he's good with strangers," or something like that.
Okay.
And that's why he goes back by himself again.
Okay.
So I think he was just saving that information to tell her first. And be like,
Okay.
if you want to go. I think he wanted her to go.
Well,
first,
because
I'm pretty sure.
if the wife goes, they can't like lie. And say
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
what he
there,
says. He's
so-
he's like, they can't lie to you if you go.
Yeah, because
Okay.
she's like
She's
actually
yeah.
related to him. So
Yeah.
Or should
Okay.
they have relations?
And then I don't know. It's kind of just a theme of the movie, maybe. But she says something like, "You're a stranger, and he's fine with strangers."
Yeah.
I think at least his characters. I think it's supposed to be something about just kind of like what alcoholism does to a relationship.
Yeah.
He
or a
does
person.
kind of give out the similar vibes as the alcoholic and City Lights, honestly.
Oh, just kind of
Okay,
this like
yeah.
dual like
Yeah, kind of like
bipolar,
bipolar almost. Yeah,
The way, especially the way he treats Elliot
like
Gould,
he,
yes.
yeah, oh yes, yeah.
Honestly, the Gold is kind of a trampish character
He
too.
is, yeah.
Like kind of out of the movie. You
Okay.
know?
I can see that. But yeah, like and I love this cut too when he goes back to the because he's like in the bushes like looking out. He's like chilling in the bushes like just like peeking out.
Dude,
to
the
see
voyeur stuff in this movie just goes off.
Yeah.
Like it goes off in this movie, honestly.
Yeah,
But
which I also find the character Dr. Behringer interesting because with that when Elliot Gould finds them in the room, it's Dr. Behringer basically telling Roger Wade to sign the check, and we have no context in it whatsoever of why he's doing this. So we're initially brought to think, okay, he's trying to trick him to give him a bunch of money, basically, for just for greed. But then later on, we figure out that it's actually a debt owed to him, which we didn't know in the first place.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, the Dr. Varinger character, maybe, like, this is another, like, subverting the expectations of the genre. He's supposed to be, like, the one-note bad guy, basically. But we learn later that he's actually, like, trying to get... Roger Wade has a debt to him, basically. And that's why he's trying to get him to sign off on the check, basically. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about that character, but... He also just, like...
What's the debt?
$800?
No, it's
No, but
it's like 6,500.
What does he do? What does the doctor do for him? Is it?
He's just he
just takes care.
Roger
of him.
Wade's just like a patient.
Okay.
So I feel like that's sort of.
I'm assuming it's just a conversation on the medical industry coming after you after your insurance bills.
That's
know?
It. It could be that. Yeah.
That was halfway as a joke, but also
regardless, he also is kind of just like he's just annoying, honestly. Like just surface level, like he looks like an annoying guy, honestly. Like just like a really creepy, like sly, like non-trustworthy guy.
Yes. Not a doctor I'd want to go to.
Honestly, yeah. But then, Marlowe...
Well, whenever you're first, like, in the mental asylum, you think he's there, like, kind of against his will almost, or, like, not, like, fully in his will, like, because, like, that's almost what, like, Marlowe, I feel like, thinks, because he's like, you don't have to sign that check under duress, like, like, that's how he ends up, like, getting him to come home, is, like, because he actually sees him. Like, it almost feels like he's being held there.
Honestly, yeah. But yeah, Marlowe basically gets him to come home, basically. Which they come home and basically them two are reunited, basically. But like from the very beginning, from their interactions, you can tell they're not the Eileen and Roger Wade's relationship isn't in the best place. Like it's very,
the dog doesn't like him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
a good sign too.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that. Yes. Okay, but then I think this is also the scene where he when he's about to leave, he asks Eileen Wade, "Did you know Terry Lennox?" And she's like, it might have been her asking him like, "Did you know was Terry Lennox like a friend to you or whatever?" And like
she slips though. She says, "My friend Terry," and then she's like,
okay, yes,
it's something like that where he kind of recognizes it too.
Yes.
She's lying to
him. But because in that moment, I'm pretty sure he initially didn't want to come back in the morning. He's like, "Oh, I probably won't be. Like, my job's here done." Yeah, when she slips, he's like, "Okay, I'll see you back in the morning."
Oh, okay.
That might be why.
That's what makes her change his mind.
Yeah. But then this is the and then he goes back to his house, and when he's walking to the elevator, we meet Marty Augustine and his men for the first time, which the guy who plays Marty Augustine did an amazing job. Because oh my gosh, he's like such a good like. Hot and cold bad guy, like he's so good, like warm. He's like warm, like he's like the opposite of like the tall bad guy in McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Like he's like he's not trying to. Or the bad guys are just the bad guys in McCabe and Mrs. Miller. They're not trying to like warm up to you at all.
No,
like,
I see what you're saying.
This guy's like trying to like smooth up, just like gain your trust, and then like explode on you basically.
Well, yeah, this scene specifically.
Oh my gosh, this scene. Yeah, so so basically we learned that Terry Lennox had like a bunch of his money basically with him, and he took it to Mexico.
He's a drug dealer, basically.
Yes. And which mentions this plot. The plot is also kind of convoluted, which is par for the course of like a Raymond Chandler novel, I'm sure. So it could be kind of hard to describe it, but like
par for the course for noir movies.
Basically, now he's like he knows Marlowe took him to it, and so now he's pressing Marlowe to get him this money, basically because his connection to Terry Lennox or whatever.
Yeah.
And basically, he basically like him and his men take Marlowe against his will to his apartment to question him. They start searching his apartment or whatever. And
funny, and they like see the girls because the girls that live across from them are really funny. They're just a funny part of the movie because they're just like these new like yoga, like they're these modern girls that he doesn't fully understand, obviously, because he's like not from this time, basically.
Okay,
but like they're walking up there, all the guys with them are just like, "Oh my god, where do you live?"
So funny. And we get a scene with one of those guys in a bit, and it's kind of funny.
I like their relationship a lot, actually.
Which relationship?
The relationship between Marlo and the young guy Harry
Okay,
or
yes,
whatever.
yes,
Their
yes,
relationship's
yes.
actually really
We'll
cute.
talk about that soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just really cute. I did that didn't connect with me, or I didn't really remember that from my first watch. So watching it this time, I was like, oh, this is like a cute relationship. Like,
Honestly, yeah. But what we're about to talk about is not cute at all.
no,
Because what's the bad guy? Marty Augustine's girlfriend or whatever. Which is real is like because he's like introducing himself to Marlo. He's like, you know, I have a wife, a beautiful 3 kids or whatever, and then he like starts talking about like and he's like, oh yeah, and then like he introduces Marlo to his girlfriend basically. Like this guy is like obviously like
he's like a mafia. Like this is a Scorsese character, dude.
honestly,
Like
in a way, yeah.
like I mean, well, I guess Altman was making these. When did Mean Streets come out? Before or after this movie?
71.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was after.
Yeah, it's 70, 71 basically.
But I can
Yeah.
see what you're saying. It's not that
Yeah.
character.
Honestly, yeah. But yeah, like basically, oh man, like so his girlfriend or whatever, or mistress or whatever, comes in because she's thirsty and wants Coke, and like Marlo's like, yeah, I have some in the
Coca-Cola,
fridge, and
not
it's like
Coke.
this like mostly drinking one basically, but like to intimidate him, Marty Augustine is like, here's someone I love. And then takes the Coke bottle and smashes it in her face, and it's one of the most brutal.
It's shocking,
so
dude.
brutal.
Like the funniest part is like even his own men didn't expect it because like I rewound it just to watch
Yes.
the reactions.
I watched that this time.
Like because like their reaction is like they're just
Oh
like
my
mouth agape
God.
like holy shit like
Yeah, they're all shocked.
And it's brutal.
yeah
Oh
it
my
is
God.
brutal and it comes out of nowhere
And like you can obviously tell there's a cut there, but at the same time, like just like the fact that she's like when she's screaming and like you can like she's like covering her face, but you can like see all the blood and everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like man,
no, it's just like super shocking.
he proved his point, you know. Oh my gosh. Which yeah, and that added another like side to him. Like he's not afraid to intimidate people with any method he can. Honestly.
Yeah. He wants his money.
Man. But well, then when they're leaving, Marlo tails him, and this is when he sees Marty.
And he tells him really smart also, just because like they don't know about like all the entrances to his place
Yes,
because
yes,
like
yes.
they leave Harry, that guy, to like watch him.
Yeah.
And they don't know that he's already like outside basically.
Oh,
Like that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
classic noir thing where he's just like
Yeah.
he's literally like waiting for them as they come down from his house basically out there.
He knew like the longest route to take them when they initially
Yeah.
captured him, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, he sees them go to Eileen and Roger Wade's house to question them, and this is when he gets even more suspicious of the Sylvia, Terry Lennox, and Eileen Roger Wade connection, basically. But so then we go to the next morning, and this is the scene with Harry, so this is another deconstruction, I feel like, because obviously it's like Marlo, the guy's supposed, in a typical private ministry, he's supposed to tail him, of course.
Yeah.
But then like he's like doesn't really know what to do, and Marlo's just like giving him lessons basically on how to tail him. It's so funny.
He's just helping him out. He's just being so. It's just so cute, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm proud to have you follow.
yeah,
me.
because
Oh my
like
gosh.
because Harry like we see he's just this dumb kid. Like he's
Yeah.
like
He's not a
whenever
kid. He's not a kid.
No, he's acting like a kid.
Young-
like he's
young
acting
man,
like he's
yeah.
16, but he's like probably 20 something.
Yeah.
But like he's just this dumb fucking kid. But he's like we see his character earlier that like from the night before where he's supposed to be watching. He's supposed to be watching
Yeah.
from Marlo. He's just up there looking at the girls there,
Oh
dude.
my God.
Like at the balcony, like.
Oh, he's doing that in the morning too.
No, yeah, he's
Yeah.
doing that in the
Yeah.
morning.
He's
too.
like asking
Well,
Marlo,
actually, he's
like-
asleep in the morning. I'm
'cause-
pretty sure.
wait,
Because Marlo wakes him up.
And he asked Marlo like, "What's the deal with those girls up there?"
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, and Marlo's like gives him the address. He's like, "This is where I'm going. I'm proud to have you follow me." And,
He's like, just in case you lose me in traffic.
Oh my gosh,
It's so cute.
funny. And then we get Marlo coming up to the security guard at the security guard that we saw earlier, and he's like, he tells the security guard, "Oh, the kid falling right behind me. He loves Walter Brennan," which is so funny because I rewatched Rio Bravo kind of recently. So, who had a lot of Walter Brennan in it, and this is a really good impression. Actually,
This is a really
this
good
guy's
impression.
talented, but it's so funny. Like when the kid pulls up to the security guard, and the security guard's like, I'm not gonna try to do it. Okay, I was about to try.
I'm not gonna try to do
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
Hey, yeah, let's
No,
hear
I
your
sound like
Walter
Elmo
Brennan
there.
impression.
I was about to sound like Elmo, but like just it's so good. Like he's like doing the walk perfectly
Yeah.
too. Like oh my god.
And then Harry just looks at him like, what?
and then like the security guard just realized, oh wait, Marlo did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh But yeah, and like when they arrive at the house, he's like, and like he's like the Harry's like skipping right behind him, and then Marlo's like, "What are you doing? Like you're supposed to not I'm supposed to not see you.
Yeah.
What are you telling me?" And then the guy and the Harry like okay, and like starts like sort of walking off.
Yeah.
Marlo enters like the gate, closes it, and then the kid immediately goes to jump over, and Marlo just opens the door and just like looks at him like, "Come on, bro."
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be better than this.
You gotta be
it's so funny, honestly. But yeah, now we get the scene where Marlo goes to the waves, and it's the scene's so interesting. This collection of scenes, honestly, because of course this is where we're seeing like the troubled relationship between them. We spoke a bit about the scene earlier, because he arrives, like checks on, like says hi to them, and basically Roger Wade tells Elliot Gould to Marlo to go to the beach, basically, go outside while they talk for a second, and so we're seeing like this voyeuristic like discussion, but it's like it honestly doesn't even really, with the conversation they're having, like it honestly like it's so like it's honestly like almost like ineligible in a way. How do you like you can't really understand really what they're talking about because of Roger, like they're honestly they're like talking in like. They're like avoiding saying like directly what they're talking about, but like they're like talking around it in a way. It's super like
I agree.
interesting.
Well, this is where she tells him she'll leave him for the first time too, and then he says, "What did you say?" And then she doesn't say it again.
Yeah. Because like he's like, it's like I was going to tell you something last night, but I forgot what it is, and then you told me something last night, I forgot what it is basically. But one of my favorite, might be my favorite shot in the movie, which we'll use in the image, is like. Yeah. It's not even a reflection of it. It's supposed to look like one, but he's like overlaying them. I'm pretty sure, because you see the reflection basically of Elliot Gould just at the beach basically. And do you think there's any like specific like meaning in this shot or like? Or just like I don't know.
I know it's supposed to add to the voyeuristic nature of the movie for sure because that's what it feels like. Like it's just a drifting camera. Like that's almost what this feels like. It's just like drifting slowly to see like what Elliot Gould's doing out there, basically. Because then it comes right back to the conversation.
Yeah, it's super interesting choice. Like, but actually, it does sort of set up a similar shot later, which is a very important shot in the movie.
No, that's my favorite shot of the movie.
Yeah,
is that use of the zoom lens is just the best shot. It's like that and the opening shot of McCabe and Mrs. Miller is my favorite shot of the zoom, my favorite use of the zoom lens. I think at least that I've recently seen. Like
he also we forgot to mention he also used the zoom lens sort of in the final shootout. McCabe and Mrs. Miller really cool.
No, he does. Yeah.
But anyway, but so then. Marlo comes back in, and then Roger Wade and him have a conversation outside, having a drink or whatever. And what's so funny is this scene also kind of doesn't really make much sense because like that, and it's sort of like the scene earlier where they're like kind of like not really even like talking about like what they really want to talk about.
Yeah.
But then I learned that this scene was improvised.
Okay, I can see it. Because it's more like a normal conversation.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Although it is. It is revealed that Roger does reveal that Mario Augustine owes him $50,000, which we then realize it's actually apparently. Well, then later we realize Eileen Wade reveals that actually Roger Wade owes Marty Augustine. Yeah. So it's super like it's. I feel like it's adding to the convolutedness of it. That's sort of what I came to the conclusion of. Like it's sort of hard to like get on what actually is. Who owes what money to who, but like at the same time,
because it doesn't really matter. So.
Yeah, it doesn't honestly. Yeah. And like Marlo asked Roger about Terry Langston. Roger says he doesn't know him, but I don't know if that's just like Roger Wade like lying on purpose or just being Roger Wade like drunk and high off his mind or whatever. But then this is when we see Marlo go back to Mexico. Just go to Mexico all of a sudden, basically to ask about to investigate Terry Langston and stuff and like. Basically, he doesn't even spend that much time here either. It's just like, oh, we're in Mexico.
Well, no, the reason why he goes to Mexico is first he goes home. He opens the letter.
Okay,
he gets the $5,000. Yeah, and a letter from Terry saying goodbye. I think it says goodbye, Phil. It says goodbye, Phil.
Okay.
And that's why he decides to go.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But he doesn't spend that much time in Mexico though.
No, it's like only one scene.
He
He goes to the coroner's office, basically.
Yeah, he like asked them about him, and they said
Yeah.
like they tell him the details of it. Like, yeah, we found him dead, and then like we see like I think the funeral proceeding outside too. Like it's in like the same shot too. He's like shooting them from the outside, looking in the building. They're talking, and then you kind of see the funeral proceeding in the foreground. The funeral proceedings.
Is this is the band playing "The Long Goodbye," right?
I think so. Yeah.
Because that's the only music ever played, but it's so good. Like,
yes.
There's so many moments of just the "Long Goodbye" score being played, or just like the "Long Goodbye," like just that song being played, just in so many different ways. It's so good.
Man.
Plus, I think like the significance of why it's Tijuana and why Terry chose this place is because really, for him to get away with this lie, it only took 2 people to lie.
Yeah.
The lawyer, the coroner / judge. I think he has like 2 different jobs or something.
Yeah.
He says.
Yeah.
And then also the police officer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they basically admit at the end, just with more money. They're like, yeah, it just took us 2 to lie. We just easily faked his death.
Damn. Okay. Yeah.
Because like I've been saying, like everyone in this movie's been lying.
Yeah.
Including these 2 people are lying to him right now.
It's a very
Like,
immoral
innocent,
world.
yeah.
And like L.A. Gould is like he's just like a
He's from a different time.
he's the good-hearted private detective, just basically like lost in this world, basically. But then like it's and then he goes back to just Island Waits. It's just so funny how it just like jumps everywhere like all of a sudden.
It is.
Yeah, I'm back in California. Like, but then this is when we get like he goes to Roger and Eileen Waite's house, and they're having the party or whatever. And basically, there's this like the scene is also like sort of like it sort of doesn't really make much sense, but like basically this is the scene where Dr. Varinger comes over and basically asks like basically forces Roger Waite to finally sign the check, basically.
Yeah.
But it's sort of confusing scene, honestly.
It's a confusing scene because I don't think we ever learn fully why. I don't know if this is in my head or if it happens. Some character says in the movie, but I'm pretty sure it's mentioned where the reason why he wants that 4,400 was because he was an alibi for him for something.
Was it?
Yeah, like he paid him to be an alibi for something.
Okay.
Because
Don't remember.
Yeah, I thought Eileen Waite said like, yeah, he has like a lot of debts to everyone or something. I guess.
But it's like it's specific why, like he's not saying why he wants specifically the money. He just keeps paying him. He's like, you're gonna pay me 4,400.
Yeah, it's obviously something.
There's some
Is
secret.
it 44 or 65?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
Like,
Well, I wrote my notes 44. 6,500 is from McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
That's just
Well, it's 6,250, and he says 6,500 later.
Yeah.
He basically barely offers a little more than the original. That's like kind of a joke because he's like, after he does all the reducing, because he gets down to 6,500.
It's like, you guys weren't really up.
He's like, I wasn't sure if they had my personal belongings or not. So if you take that out of it,
it's like how much does personal belongings?
He's like 7,500. Yeah, you just keep going lower.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. But
see, I don't know why he needed an alibi though. That's what I'm like.
Yeah, it's just the convolutedness of it. It just shows how.
No, because that's why I like the convolutedness is part of it in terms of we never really find out for sure why this doctor's so like.
Yeah.
Almost evil in how he's trying to get his money.
Yeah,
honestly,
like
slapping him in front of a party. Like why is the doctor acting like this?
Like talking to him like a child, basically.
Yeah.
It's
and basically the way he's framed, like he's framed like an evil guy.
Well, the doctor acts like that Marty guy, so
and he just looks evil too.
Like
he just looks that part.
Honestly. To me, like I read it almost like it's just like a doctor's just another guy trying to get money. That's all he cares about. Even if he was just trying to get the money just for treating him, and he just didn't pay. Like, how could the doctor be proud of his work? He's like at this guy's party, he's like drunk as fuck, like doesn't give a shit, and like the doctor just doesn't care. He just slaps him and gets his money and leaves. Doesn't care if the patient's okay at all. Like
that's how it be.
Yeah, but basically, I think Marlowe then presses Eileen about the Lennoxes.
Yes, I think that's when he's like starting to be like, okay, what happened?
Yeah, like tell me, like you're obviously you're lying to me at some point. But and then I think this is the next scene where they're at night, they're having dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're having dinner, and then he presses her. But while he's pressing her, we see the similar shots earlier of when Marlowe's on the beach. We see the shot of the kind of reflection, like overlay shot of Roger Waite just walking into the waters, which is just like, I mean, you said it's like
this is probably
because what he asked her is, "Where was your husband the night Sylvia Lennox was killed?"
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
because
he still thinks it's
they cheated, like they reverse cheated, they swapped.
I think Marlo still thinks it's Roger that killed. Like he still believes Terry is innocent at this point. He still thinks Roger's the one that killed him.
Yeah, he still thinks Roger's acting guilty.
Yeah,
and that's why I think it might have been cool that it mentions the alibi thing then.
Okay,
because that's what his theory is. And that's why the doctor's
like I love when he's questioning her and he's like did your husband cheat on you with Sylvia Lennox? And she doesn't know, and he's like, do you suspect your husband cheated on someone that may have been Sylvia Lennox?
That may have been Sylvia.
But and then we see basically Roger Wade walking into the water. Basically,
this Zoom lens is just so good because it's just that voyeuristic nature of the entire movie that's been doing this entire time. But it's just such an amazing fucking shot. Just like slowly looking because it's pitch black outside, and then you just see a white shirt basically.
Oh, man.
Like because at least the first time I watched it, this time I knew what I was looking for, but the first time I watched it took me a sec to notice like there was even a person out there.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to take you a second. Like it's a zoom lens, like it's slowly showing you like what's supposed to happen.
It literally isn't long goodbye.
Oh my gosh, and it's such a good. And
you just hear the waves. You just hear the waves and like kind of their screams and stuff. Like, but it's too late. Bro.
Yeah, them just like getting
and the dog carrying the cane too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that shot's insane. And like just like them like helplessly like the waves just helplessly crashing into them like they can't do anything. They're so helpless, man.
But because it's right after this when they like the whole aftermath of the police are there and everything.
Yes,
is when he asks her, "Are you lying about Roger?" And he says something about, and then she says, "I think he killed Sylvia."
Okay.
Yeah, she says something. She says something like, "I'm pretty. Yeah, I think so." Because he's like, did he kill Sylvia? And she's like, yeah, I think so.
That's an easy way out of this.
Yeah. And that's why he thinks it's Roger paid for the alibi, basically, to be at the mental hospital.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
And then he talks to the police officers and tells them that theory.
Yes.
And they said we knew the whole time that Roger Wade left Sylvia Lennox's house to go to the hospital or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I think. Like he went straight from there from Sylvia Lennox's to the hospital, I think, or somewhere. And I think this might be like him still like. Do you think this is Marlo like? Do you think that adds to his theory? Like that makes him more confident? I couldn't really tell in this scene, like when he hears that info, because obviously like I don't know, it's like do you think Marlo gained anything from that info? Of the police officer telling him that they knew the whole time that Roger. I that scene I was like I don't know why.
I think it makes him more suspicious of Terry and of what's her name? Eileen.
Okay. Yeah. Like okay.
Because if they already knew all this, then they didn't really suspect Roger to begin with, kind of basically, because they weren't really keeping tabs on him. Like
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the next scene we immediately cut to Marlo going to the Marty Augustine's basically like office or whatever. Oh, this scene's great. Also, I'm assuming you guys
Arnie.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the scene. Yeah. Sort of obvious actually. Like he's not really like he's pretty close.
It's very obvious.
It's kind of obvious, yeah. Also, he's like huge.
It's very obvious. He's huge. He's wearing gold underwear. Like,
that too, yeah.
Like, I think he was a big actor at this point.
No, he hadn't gotten big. I think he had done Pumping Iron before this still, but I think Pumping Iron was before this movie. I can't remember.
What's funny about this is the following scene when Marlo's like at the beach like mad. He's like, I want to speak with Ronald Reagan. I want to speak with the governor. And it's funny to see is he goes to the scene and meets Arnold Schwarzenegger's character there, who later became the governor of California. So he technically got his wish.
He technically got his wish.
In a way. Like.
No, this was before Pumping Iron.
Oh, it was? Okay.
And he's uncredited in this, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only scene I remember him in, so...
this is the only scene he's in.
Yeah,
okay. But yeah, this scene's great. Like, Marty Augustine still pressing about the money.
Yeah.
And then brings the girlfriend. He brings in the girlfriend again because Marlo asked about her. And she has like all like the face braces or like the bandages and like her like she's like a what do you even call it?
It's just like a jaw brace basically.
Jaw brace.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's implied they broke her jaw basically.
Yeah. I mean and like he's like acting the same way towards her, like the same way as he did before. So you're like, I was starting to think the first time I was watching, I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna hit her again, like prove a point again. But this time he said to finally know you're telling the truth. You need to take off all your clothes, basically.
Yeah.
And like Marlo's like, I'm not taking all my clothes. And they're like, okay, everyone take off their clothes.
Yeah.
Basically. Oh my gosh.
It's so fucking funny, honestly. Like this scene is like it's kind of tense for sure
But it's
because
like,
it is,
yeah.
but it's also just fucking hilarious. Like
Because like, and then like Marlo takes off his jacket, and then
the wallet falls out.
Yeah, the $5,000 bill. It's like an actual $5,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then Mario Edison goes, "Ooh, I was right. When you take off your clothes, the truth does come out."
The truth.
Because that was one of the $5,000 is like the $5,000.
They don't have. There's not a lot.
It's a very and like there's 3 of them in the suitcase that that belong to Terry Lennox. Terry Lennox had that belonged to Marty Augustine, and basically now he's like has more suspicion, and then basically tells Harry, the acute relationship between him and Marlo, tells Harry to cut him basically,
stab him. Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Actually cut his dick off. Yeah,
Okay,
cut it off.
yeah, okay,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
cut what off?
He didn't say dick, but like we know
what you're
he
talking
points
about.
to it. He
Yeah.
points to it.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Oh man, but then this is when like he gets lucky basically.
Yeah.
And the how much money was it again? I forgot.
It's like 60-something thousand.
A lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, basically, it got delivered. Basically, it turns out like they got the money now. So
I think he actually comes in saying your fairy godmother saved you or something. Like he actually Marty actually says that, or maybe that was a leak.
I think that was Marlo saying that because
Yeah.
Alex is like, okay, you were telling the truth the whole time, basically, like, and like Marlo's like, okay, I guess the gods were looking at me, basically, like what he was saying, but basically then Marlo exits and then he sees Eileen Wade drive. This is a great scene too. Oh my gosh, like basically because then now he knows that like okay, now she's suspicious basically. Now he needs to talk to her, but she obviously doesn't want to. And like him chasing her, the way he films that of him chasing her in the car is like so cool.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Until he gets hit.
Yeah, but that's a cool.
It is
part,
cool
like,
how he gets hit too.
Oh
like
my
the
God.
I love the cut after he gets hit too, just to like the person all in like the full body breaks because it makes you think it's him. And then just cuts to him at the next day. He's like, oh,
He's getting up. Yeah,
it's like, oh, you got really fucked up.
And the scene's also really funny because like he gets up and he's like the full bandage guy's like trying to give him the harmonica for some reason. Yeah. And he's like, oh, thank you. I guess I don't really play, but I can have it. And he's like, I saw your picture, man. You'll be fine. Like, you tell that guy I don't hurt to die.
You tell that guy.
Oh my gosh. But then after this is when he returns to the house, like you said earlier, and Marlo finds out that Eileen Wade has moved out, basically. And doesn't know her, but at this point, he basically knows, like, okay, her and Taylor must be like in cahoots now. He doesn't really say it out loud, but he has to know at this point. It's basically, I feel like it's basically implied.
Yeah.
He goes literally to Mexico to find
he knows the last loose ends are the cops or are the coroner and the cop that knows what happens, and he knows that that if Terry bribed him, he can bribe him too.
And this is a really cool shot too of when Marlo bribed, because Altman doesn't take the camera into the car. They get into the car together, and Altman's just following the car with his camera, and you just hear the ADR from them in the car. Basically, it's super.
He does cut to the $5,000 bill, I think, once for sure, because they do cut to him pushing pushing the $5 bill like towards, or like showing him like right between the seats, and he's like, "I like to donate to the community here." It's just the way he said it. Yeah, it's like this is donation. It's a donation.
Yeah, all this is like the kind of crowded soundtrack where they're talking over each other.
Yeah,
and he's basically revealing the truth of what happened.
Oh man, yes, and then basically like the two were like, we easily faked it, like it was so easy, like but then we get like the final, well, not the final shot or scene or whatever, but like the scene this movie is kind of been building towards, just basically Marlo confronting Terry, and like man, this scene, I mean obviously I feel like you have your, which I'm sure I'll give you a chance to talk about that, of course.
Well, to me, it's not that I don't like it. It's more like the whole movie has felt like it's kind of it's leading to, it's like you were saying, it's not supposed to be satisfying.
Yes.
You know, like a typical kind of how you would feel at the end of a film noir movie.
Yes.
Where the good guy shoots the bad guy.
Yeah.
And to me, this one, it feels like that still.
Okay.
You're still getting that kind of payoff for a film noir. Like, where the most of the movie to me has been like almost the opposite, where it's teasing the payoff and then you never get it.
Okay.
Where this very end is almost, it still feels like you're getting that, kind of soft resolution.
Okay.
Which,
Yeah.
That's basically what I was gonna say.
Okay. But yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
But yeah, basically, Marlo, Marlo says what's up, and I'm pretty sure, like, he doesn't say anything else, because, like, Terry's just, like, telling him, like, hey, like, you found me, like, I forgot what he said, like, did he say, like, he's gonna give him some money or whatever? Like, he said something.
He tries to pay him off first.
Pay him off, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But then, like, and then Marlo basically, I mean, this is the first time we see his gun. It's the whole movie, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. That's why the poster doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah,
that's why,
honestly.
like, they did make an obvious marketing mistake by trying to do that, because it's not that type of movie. But,
Except for this moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of saying.
No, but like I disagree. I love the ending. I love him shooting it.
But that's what I'm kind of saying. That's why. The
The reason I love it though is just because like it sticks. It's the same code that Marlo I feel like has had this whole movie, honestly. So, like it's him just sticking to this code of like he believed this guy was a friend.
Yeah.
And so like this is the death of like literally everything he believed in, basically. So,
Yes,
he's literally killing him.
and the fact that he brings up the cat too.
Yeah.
Because the whole you of course the cat's
To me,
beginning.
the death of everything he's believed in happens when he sees Terry Lennox there. That's him realizing, like, okay, like, even though he's kind of known the whole time, like, him just seeing there, like, Terry Lennox alive, and then he says, so you used me, and Terry Lennox literally says, that's what friends are for, I was in a jam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it's, like, basically, like, he's still kind of lying to him even this last
Yeah, and that's why he
moment,
kills him though, is because that's his idea of friendship, and that's not a Marlo's idea of friendship. Like Marlo has a different code of friendship than he does, which is why he kills him. That's just the reason I.
And also the fact that because of that basically he lost his cat basically.
Yeah.
That was like one of the other things he cared for. So both things he really cared for basically are dead basically because of the situation.
Yeah.
But then, so after he shoots him, we see the final shot, which is like it's like third.
So
it reminds me of the ending of Third Man. Ending of Third Man, we have Joseph Cotton's character, and the romantic interest. He's waiting at the car for her, but she just walks right past him at the end of Third Man.
Yeah.
I should have said spoilers for Third Man. It doesn't really
I should have
matter.
said spoilers for Third Man.
If you even know the spoiler, the movie's still amazing. You'll be fine. But this shot is Ellie Gold just walking by, and you see Eileen Wade driving past him, and she like stops for a second and looks at him, but Marlo doesn't acknowledge her at all.
Oh yeah.
And then he brings out his harmonica and starts playing it a little bit. Oh my god.
I mean, dude, we should use the ending song for the ending song of the podcast. It's like, it plays like this old-timey hooray for Hollywood.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely do that.
And almost like just commenting on like it's like kind of a Hollywood ending, but not really.
Yeah, honestly,
the song is really good too.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Because it even like cuts to like a kind of old-timey soundtrack too. Like it sounds old, like an old-time song.
Yeah, okay.
The way it's played.
Or maybe it's that sort of ties into Marlo being the '40s character.
Okay, yeah,
maybe that's.
I need to know when that song is. I don't know where that song is.
You can probably find it on YouTube for sure. But yeah, but I love this ending because then she sees him, and like he walks by, but then she like slams it to go forward because like I feel like she realized at that moment, oh no, like something must have went down. That happened. Something has happened to Terry in that moment. But yeah. But did we mention, by the way, it was revealed that Terry. It was revealed that what actually happened was Terry Lennox. Roger Wade caught Terry Lennox cheating on. Caught Eileen cheating on. Oh wait, no. Okay, this is as the complication. I'm pretty sure it's Roger.
It's Sylvia that catches them two.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't it?
No, Roger told them.
Oh, okay.
Roger told them, and basically she, because this is what Terry revealed in that moment with Marlo is that like she found out about it through Roger, and basically was threatening to turn over the police for all his like drug and like illegal stuff he was having basically.
Yeah.
And basically that's why he killed her basically. And he's like I didn't mean to kill her. I just like pushed her or hit her or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Ellie was like or Marlo's like I saw the pictures. That was more than like just one hit.
He was like, you bashed her face in.
Yeah, it's like, and I guess I think he said like that's what it takes, or she deserved it, or something like that.
Dude, which is like what makes you like what made me think like he's gonna do the same thing to Eileen eventually. Like it's kind of just like how he treats women almost. Like that's just his view of women is like they're just there to be used almost, or like
Well, everyone for him.
Everyone for him. Yeah. Which is like that just plays into it. Another reason why I love Elliot Gould shoots him because like it's sticking to his like code.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying though. It's the satisfying ending, which is like.
But it makes sense too. It makes sense though.
To me, the satisfying ending is like Marlo realizing it.
He does realize it. That's why he shoots him.
But no, I still like it. It just, I do like the last shot is better though with him just not looking at it.
The last shot's amazing, honestly. Like,
and I found out the song is from 1957. Doris Day.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense. That's probably when film noir was at its peak too. The 50s.
Really? You don't think the
40s actually? Because Hooray for Hollywood kind of like being that's kind of sort of that's like approaching the collapse of golden age of Hollywood. 57. Yeah. So maybe I wonder if that's like a satirical song, like Hooray for Hollywood, like maybe like just like a tribute to old Hollywood. That song being in the time, but I'm not really gonna speculate. But yeah, that's The Long Goodbye. Very good movie. One of my favorite movies of all time.
What a picture.
Oh yes. But yeah, two great movies. So next week we're going to continue on Robert Altman, and we got two bangers as well for next week. We have California Split and Nashville.
Okay.
So yeah, we have a 2-hour movie and then we got like a 3-hour one, which is going to take forever to talk about probably, but we'll get through it. You know?
We'll get through it.
So yeah,
3 hours.
Hope to see you next time. Hope to see you floating through the clouds.
Hooray for Hollywood. That's gooey valley, hooly Hollywood. Where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any shop girl can be a top girl if she pleases a tired businessman. Hooray for Hollywood. You may be homely in your neighborhood.
To be an actor, see Mr. Factor, you make your kisser look good.